Welcome everybody to another edition of Latto Talk, where we discuss all things related to mixed race people. I'm El Mulaton, and tonight we're going to be talking about Giancarlo Esposito, a Latto celebrity who wants revolution. Okay, we'll find out what he means by that. We're also going to be talking about one-droppers and how I don't think we can trust them, and I don't think they're our allies. Yeah, so you can find this live every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on TikTok. So go ahead, give me a like, follow, or subscribe. At Mongrel Uprising on TikTok and YouTube. At Papa Mulaton on Instagram and YouTube. So let's get into this. I see we already got Mulatto Priest. What's up, man? I look forward to this show every Friday, brother. Awesome. I'm glad to have you here. Glad you're always showing up. And that's kind of the idea of doing these lives on a regular basis at the same damn time, so that we kind of know what to expect. We have a time slot for us where we can hang out and do things. And I think that's really gonna help us with community building, with getting to know each other, exchanging ideas, improving ourselves. I think that's really gonna help. Yeah. And I like that a lot of other people are doing it too, like Suburban Mulattos. They've got a regular live that they do. And I'm not sure if they've picked a specific time yet, but I know that's what they're trying to do. They've got good stuff going on over there. But yeah, that's what we need. It's exactly what we need. And then we've got coming up in how many days? I guess in one or 2 days, we got Black History Month coming up. Yeah. Black History Month, the time where many of the accomplishments of Latto people get stolen. Many of our contributions to America get forgotten. And we definitely got to start speaking out against that. I know a lot of people are. This is going to be my first time, I think, making content during Black History Month. I think I started in the middle of February last year. But, you know, the way these like month things go, where everybody's just like patting themselves on the back, it usually lasts like the first week and then everybody forgets about it. I personally don't like these things where we have like entire months of just celebrating people for existing. And I also don't like the idea of like a history month where we're only going to talk about our history this month. You know, I feel like it's something we should be talking about all year round, specifically for like Latto history. Yeah, I don't think I would like a Latto history month. We should constantly be talking about our people, our history, and all of this. Let's see. Mulatto Priest says Bantu Haitians are trying to one-drop the Dominican mulattoes. Oh yeah. I don't get that. Like, you know, if things were going very well for Haiti, they wouldn't be doing that. You know, but it's only when things aren't going that great that they start trying to say, hey, you successful people over there, you're really us. So we deserve some of it. You know, some of that greatness you're building over there, we deserve some of it. Yeah. But there's quite a few Haitian mulattoes too. I wonder if they're trying to one-drop them as well. I'm assuming they are. I don't know. I see we got Wes here. Thank you for sharing the live. Yeah, everybody share the live if you can with anybody and everybody. I should probably be doing the same too. Let's see. Mulatto Priest says because they feel entitled to stay in their country. Yeah. I used to keep up with what was happening in the DR, and it's kind of a problem. A lot of the Haitians there, and a lot of the problems they're causing. But you know, I don't know the internal politics of the Dominican Republic well enough to have any strong opinions about it. But man, I can understand why you wouldn't want that, you know? Mulatto Priest says it was a mixed race guy who created Black History Month. Really? Yeah, I gotta look into that. I'm guessing he identified as Black. I'm guessing he was a Latto and he identified as Black. Okay. I see we got Congo Money. What's going on, man? He says, I concur. Wes says, if we separated every historical figure with 40 to 60% African European DNA from Black America. Yeah, there's, you know, and there's a lot of ambiguity about certain public figures in American history because they want that to be murky. They don't want you to look that much deeper into the racial makeup of a lot of these so-called Black figures because they just want to one-drop everybody. And I remember doing just some surface level research on like the history of blues music. And I think one of the biggest contributors to blues music was a Latto. And they're not gonna say that. You know, they're not gonna call him a Latto. They're not gonna call him mixed race. And they'll say that blues music is 100% Black. But, you know, and so many aspects of American culture, there's Lattos have their fingerprints everywhere, but it just gets overlooked. Yeah. Mulatto Priest, I just went back and forth with a Bantu Haitian for fun. Dude claims his country is great, but still resides in the US. Yeah, if their country was great, they wouldn't be here. Yeah, I don't see like an influx of people coming from like wealthy nations coming to the US, you know? So many Haitians are applying for like asylum, I believe. So, you know, come on. Y Durant says from one drop rule to one box rule. Oh man. It was a Dominican that popularized by Black. Really? Wes says Charlie Patton. Yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy. I believe he's a Latto. I'm not sure. He's definitely mixed race. I'm not sure if he's specifically Latto. I'd have to dig deeper. But yeah, he's a big figure in blues. Wes says they call him the father of Delta blues. Yeah. And blues is kind of the foundation for so many other genres as well. Mulatto Priest says the creator of jazz was a Creole quadroon named Jelly Roll Morton. Really? Dang. I gotta look into that. Because even jazz is another thing that influenced so many other styles of music. Like I think reggae got some influence from jazz. I think if I remember my music history correct, I think some of rock and roll came from jazz, because in jazz there was like the horn section, and then there was the rhythm section that was the drums, the guitars, the bass, the keyboards, and then there was rock and roll and other genres that were basically they just took that rhythm section of jazz, minus the horns, and then boom. But yeah. Mulatto Priest responding to Wes says, I've listened to him. He looks pretty quadroonish. I'm going to look him up right now. I'm going to look him up while we're... Jelly Roll Morton is the name. Oh yeah, he's definitely mixed. On first sight, I would have called him a mulatto, but let's see, Creole community. So he's like multi-gen Creole. So it would be difficult to figure out what his exact mix is, I imagine. But yeah, he's definitely looks like one of us. Jelly Roll Morton. Mulatto Priest says blues actually came from Irish Scots folk music, I believe. Really? Yeah. So I know that there was definitely a big influence from the Irish Scots, like in I believe in Appalachia and stuff like that, that influenced other genres. Obviously, I think like bluegrass. I freaking love bluegrass. Wes, Jimi Hendrix seemed to be very MGM too. Yeah, Jimi Hendrix is kind of a question mark because, I mean, I guess it depends on the lighting or the context or whatever. He looks like he could be either Griff or Latto. I don't know. They rarely show pictures of him with like his natural hair, but so I don't know. It looks like he has his hair relaxed or something. But yeah, Hendrix has got a lot of good stuff too. Yeah, he's definitely like at the very least just he's mixed and multi-gen mixed. Yeah. What his exact mixture is, I mean, who knows? But yeah. All right. So I wanted to talk about our boy Giancarlo Esposito. Giancarlo Esposito. I think most of y'all know who that is. Before I start though, go follow me on YouTube, Papa Mulaton. That's my YouTube. That's where I have my long form content. I usually post my lives there, these TikTok lives. I couldn't post last week's live for some reason because it just wouldn't download. It would always stall. So TikTok's got some issues with that. Hopefully I'll be able to upload this one. We'll see. But I usually post my lives and other long form content at that account, Papa Mulaton. So I think our first story is gonna be, it's gonna be this one. Giancarlo Esposito. This is the guy, he played Gus in Breaking Bad. He's in a lot of different things. I forgot his character name. He was in Star Wars. If you saw The Mandalorian, I think he was like the main villain in The Mandalorian. He's in a whole bunch of things. And he was recently at the Sundance Film Festival for some new series or movie he's got. I have an article. I'll give y'all all the details. And commenting on current events, he said, "This is time for a revolution." And unfortunately, he's not referring to a Latto revolution. That would have been pretty awesome. If he was like, "I'm calling on all my Lattos. We need to have a revolution." But no, he's not doing that. He's a celebrity. What can you expect? Celebrities are always going to disappoint you, you know? Wes says, the state in the U.S. with the most Admixed BAs is Washington, where Jimmy is from. Really? Washington? I thought Washington was just all white people. Let's see. Mulatto Priest says, sometimes it's hard to tell between Griff's Quadrants and Lattos. Yeah, it is. Mulatto Priest says, yeah, I remember him from Breaking Bad mostly. Yeah. Yes, Terry, Giancarlo Esposito. Mulatto Priest says, he's old, he likely identifies as black mostly. Yeah, it's very likely he does, which is surprising because he's half Italian. And I think he grew up very connected to his Italian culture. Like, he spent time in Italy. I think he speaks Italian. I mean, his full name is Italian. Giancarlo Esposito. Like, let me see if he has a middle name. Giancarlo Esposito. Yeah, his full name is Italian. It's Giancarlo Giuseppe Alessandro Esposito. Yeah? Let's see. I'll read a little bit of his bio from Wikipedia. So he's 67 years old right now. He played Gus Fring in Breaking Bad. who else? Where's his Star Wars credit? I don't see his Star Wars credit in here, but oh, there it is. Moff Gideon in The Mandalorian. That was the character. That was a pretty decent character, but I think he was a little too old for that role. But yeah, it says Giancarlo was born in Copenhagen, Denmark. He's the son of Giovanni Esposito, an Italian stagehand and carpenter from Naples, and Elizabeth Foster, an African-American opera and nightclub singer from Alabama. Yeah. It says Esposito lived in Rome, Italy, until he was 5 when his family moved to the U.S., settling in Manhattan. So yeah, he even partially grew up in Italy. So this guy's very connected to his Italian culture, and I guarantee you he probably identifies as black. Or he may do the wishy-washy, I'm a black biracial. Let's see. The word mixed or biracial doesn't appear at all in his Wikipedia entry. Obviously, Mulato's not going to show up. But yeah. So he's one of us. He's also one of these examples of a Latto that kind of favors the more African side. Despite him being at least 50-50, he could have a little bit more European ancestry, depending on his mother's makeup. I don't know. But yeah, he's definitely an example of one of those people. Like, if he didn't tell you he was Latto, you probably wouldn't have guessed it, or you probably would have called him a Griff, you know? I definitely would have. I see Griff when I see him, but yeah, he's definitely one of us, you know? And that just goes to the diversity of the Latto physical appearance, yeah? Especially when you start dealing with Southern Europeans. They're just gonna have a different look, you know, than what we're used to here in the US, which is more like Western, Northern European. Let's see. Let me get to your comments. Where was I? Okay, here I am. Mulatto Priest says the Washington, D.C., Maryland area has a lot of mulattoes. Oh, you meant D.C., Washington, D.C. Okay. I thought you meant Washington State. Okay. Yeah, D.C., I think they call D.C. like Chocolate City. Wes says, yeah, 23andMe study confirmed it. Washington State. Oh, it is Washington State, Virginia, and Louisiana. Terry said, heard he was an outcast and he was a part of the Jewish kids because they were outcast. Yeah, there's some video floating around of him when he was younger, explaining some of his experiences. Terry says, isn't Giancarlo from Norway? No, I think what I just read, he was born in Copenhagen, but he's like ancestrally Italian and African American. Oh, okay, so Wes is saying Washington State. Okay, we need to get our information right. Washington, D.C., I can understand, but Washington State, that's, I don't know. Mulatto Priest says, yeah, my maternal grandmother is Italian American. Oh, that's nice. Do you have any connection to that Italian culture at all, Mulatto Priest? Terry says, thought it was Esposito. Oh, no, so no, it's not Esposito. That would be more of a Spanish pronunciation. It's Esposito. So I knew a guy. He was a professor at some university here in the U.S. and he was an Italian guy straight from Italy, and he had the same last name. And he was telling me he can't freaking stand it, these Americans who pronounce his name as Esposito. And he was like, I'm not freaking Spanish, I'm Italian. It's Esposito. Yeah. He was, I think he was a Southern European guy, but yeah, it's pronounced Esposito. And then if you can pronounce the S like a Z if you want to, that's more like the standard Italian pronunciation. The little bit of Italian that I learned from Southern Europe, Southern Italians. So the S would just be a regular S, Esposito. But yeah. Mulatto Priest says, that's interesting. Washington State is extremely white, but maybe that's why. Yeah. That's what I thought Washington State was. Wes, it makes sense because the further north you go, the more admixed the BLK people. Terry says, my paternal grandfather was German Scottish. Interesting. German and Scottish. Mulatto Priest says, even in Michigan, a bunch of multi-gens here. Yeah, I could see that because I think there was at some point in the early 20th century, this big migration of BLK people from the South moving to the Midwest, like Chicago and Detroit and the Ohio area. Mulatto Priest, he probably identifies interchangeably, to be honest. Yeah, that's what I'm guessing. Or depending on the situation he's in, he'll identify one way or the other. Hey, Iberian, good to see you in here. Thank you for the chilies. The chiles, thank you. Let's see. Wes says DMV is teaming with Life Bright MGMs. Light Bright MGMs. Terry thought he was mestizo Dominican. I mean, that's the thing with a lot of Lattos, like, you know, it's so ambiguous, you know. RDM says, so you won the lotto, eh? Hell yeah. The genetic lotto. Terry, doesn't he look Dominican passing a bit? I don't know. I'm not too familiar with the Dominican look to know. Mulatto Priest, he has my uncle's mix and my uncle is the same way. Gotcha. Terry says, I knew it was a Scandinavian area. Couldn't quite put my finger on it. Mulatto Priest, a little bit honestly, though, my maternal grandmother and great-grandfather, who's no longer here. Gotcha. Mulatto Priest, other than that, I haven't been to Italy yet. Yeah. Italy's got a really fascinating culture. It's really interesting. Also, you've got not even just like the modern culture, you've got access to Italian history, Rome, all that stuff. So awesome. Terry says, Italy's such a beautiful country. Yep. Smoke, thank you for sharing the live. Diane, thank you for sharing the live. Iberian, thank you for sharing. Good to have all you here. So the story we're talking about is Giancarlo Esposito, a famous Latto celebrity, said this is time for a revolution. And I've got an article here from Variety talking about it. Let's see what our boy was talking about. Yeah. Giancarlo Esposito says it's time for a revolution in the U.S. as political tensions rise with the actions of ICE agents in Minneapolis. This is time for a revolution, and they don't even know that's why they're starting. Or no, that's what he said. Yeah. The actor told Variety on Tuesday night at the Sundance Film Festival, "We have to stand up to it. They can't take us all down." This is where he gets a little crazy. If the whole world showed up on Putin's doorstep or the Iranians' doorstep or in Washington, they'd unalive 500 or 50 million or however many. But the rest of us would survive with a new world. Oh, man. He seems a little flippant about that part of like 500 or 50 million people getting unalived. And he thinks he's still going to be alive, but okay. The article goes on to say, Esposito's comments came during the Sundance premiere of his new crime thriller, The Only Living Pickpocket in New York, one of the final premieres at the festival's final year in Park City. The narrative around the event has been defined by a politically charged climate tied to the Trump administration's mass deportations in Minneapolis and other parts of the country. Civil rights groups and legal advocates have raised concerns about federal enforcement tactics, including the excessive use of force and potential constitutional violations. Meanwhile, some conservative voices have attributed the unrest to alleged agitation by left-wing groups. Okay, so I think Esposito then says, some very rich old white men are exerting their power to suppress our own people, thus creating a feeling of civil war in the streets, preparing the haters to hate, teaching them how to pew, pew, pew. Oh, crap, hold on. TikTok's giving me a warning. Keep your live engaging. Turning your camera off, showing static images, or being away for long periods may result in your live becoming ineligible for the For You feed. People always freaking show images, but whenever I want to do it, freaking TikTok is like, you can't do it. Okay, look at my freaking camera is there. Freaking TikTok, man. Let me get the image back on. This is probably why I'm going to start changing over to YouTube. TikTok is annoying as shit. Okay, where was I? Esposito goes on to say, this is all a preparation for a very insidious problem that's happening in our world. And for me, I have to speak out. We will not be iced out. This is not going to happen. He's very passionate about this. He's so passionate about this, he's willing to let 50 to 500 million people get on a live. Oh, man. Diane says, watch Peaky Blinders on Netflix. I've heard good things about that, but I'm not really like a sit down and watch stuff kind of guy. At least not like fiction. Y Duran says, I look like Indian. Terry, if we got detained by ICE and were sent off to a continent, where would we go? Africa, Afropean. I would be fine pretty much anywhere. They're most likely gonna send anybody back to some Latin American country, which is fine with me. I speak the language. I'm pretty familiar with most of the cultures down there. And I wouldn't mind like a vacation down to freaking Brazil or I don't know, Guatemala, Mexico, hell, even the Middle East. I'll take a trip to the pyramids. I don't mind that. Wes says, I don't know how many of us could fit into Cabo Verde. I forgot about that place. That's another good place. Diane, it's historically correct. Irish, Italians, English, communism, watch at least 2 and you'll be hooked. Oh, you're talking about that series. Okay. Okay, let me go. Let me continue on with this article. Here we go. A number of celebrities, including Esposito's The Only Living Pickpocket in New York co-star Tatiana Maslany, wore ice out pins across press lines, studio shoots, and other media appearances. And then she starts talking about some issues happening in the Middle East that we can't really speak on here on TikTok anymore because it was bought out by a group of people. But yeah. And so I think that's about it when it comes to Giancarlo's comments. And the main reason I wanted to bring this up is because we already know that there's a bunch of like tensions here in the US going on. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's starting to be a lot more violence going on. And despite how you may feel about what's causing it or what the source of it may be, one of the things that's going to definitely favor us, or I should say something that we need, is community. Yeah? And I'll give you an example. There was that one story out of LA. I don't know how many LA people we have here. I don't know if Iberian is still here. Maybe Iberian can comment on this. I don't know. Rooftop Koreans. Does anybody remember Rooftop Koreans? So I don't know the story in depth, but the gist of it is there were massive riots in LA, and the Koreans were like, "This not us. This isn't happening to us." Yeah. So the Koreans. Some Korean community, I don't know how many, if it was one single community or all over the city, they got up on the roofs, They got up on the roofs with their boom boom sticks, pew, 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 pew. They're like, nuh-uh, not over here. Not over here. And they were, as far as I know, they were able to successfully prevent rioters and looters from causing a lot of damage to their community. But it wasn't because they had boom boom sticks. That was part of the equation, yeah? It was because they had a community. Okay, they had a group of people who had shared identity, shared values, shared morals, and they got together and they're like, we built this community, we need to protect it. And they got together and they did it. Yeah? There was another example. I can't remember the city, but it was during the George Floyd riots. Yeah? And there was all this chaos happening, cities getting destroyed. And I want to say it was in Detroit or somewhere in Michigan. And there were Muslim communities, maybe they were Arab communities or North African communities, I'm not sure. They were like, not over here. Y'all aren't doing that. And I think they set up like barricades, they protected their businesses, they banded together and they defended what was theirs from outsiders. But again, it wasn't because they had like some weapons or anything. I think in this specific case, they actually didn't have, boom boom sticks. They just had numbers. They had a community. Yeah? They had people who wanted to defend what they had built. And they were, for the most part, successful in preventing a lot of damage to their community. So when there's chaos, when there's all kinds of violence happening, you really want that community. Yeah? When society collapses or whenever there's just a temporary loss of order, you're gonna want a community. And it doesn't matter like how prepared you are as an individual, you will always need the numbers. You will always need people beyond just your family to be able to keep you safe, to be able to at least maintain some semblance of order where you live, yeah? And we as Lattos don't have that. It's something that we absolutely need. Now, like I said, there are some Lattos that do have communities. It's not specifically a Latto community, but there are Lattos that have a community. They're usually called Dominicans. They're usually called Creoles. And their communities are generally mixed. But, if you were to go to like some Dominican community, let's say in New York, you really think you're going to get away with pulling some BS? Likely not. To use another example in New York, I believe during like COVID, I can't remember if it was the governor of New York or the mayor instituted something where people couldn't go to church or synagogue or anything like that. And they tried enforcing that on the Jays, and the Jays kind of revolted. They were like, no, we really believe in this thing, and it's part of our culture, it's part of who we are, we're gonna do it, And because they had that community, that base of support, they were able to, at least for a time, successfully resist this oppressive regime coming after them, yeah? Blackie Airbrush says, what is Latto? Latto is short for something. If you have African and European ancestry, you are a Latto. Now, I can't say the full word. I can't say it too much because I'm pretty sure it gets flagged on all these platforms. So, yeah. But yeah, community is going to be very, very important. And I want to tell a story if I can remember it well enough. About another example where community was absolutely necessary. But let me get to the comments. Iberian says, yep. Mulato Priest says, yep. Blackie says, I'm from Pico Union, right next door to Koreatown in LA. Interesting. Mulatto Priest says it was where some Korean sniped a bunch of Bantu gangbangers. Yeah. Blackie says, nah, mostly it was the boom boom stick. The Korean community was small in 92. I'd have to do some research into it, but I saw quite a few of them up there. Mulatto Priest shut down. They refused and beat the ish out of the police. Oh man, Zyro Phoenix says community is so necessary. Yes, and community is a very specific word. You know, we kind of throw the word community around a lot, and we use it as a synonym for like a friend group or an online group of people. That's not what I mean when I say community. When I say community, I mean like a physical place where the people have a shared identity, shared values, shared goals. And they support each other. They help each other. That's what we need. So many other people have communities in America. Now, not all of them are ideal communities. Some of them are dysfunctional. Okay, and I think we all know which ones those are. And then some are moderately successful. Some are just the cream of the crop. They're amazing. So it's not even just about having any old community. It's specifically having a healthy, functional community, you know? Mulatto Priest says, exactly, community is important. Survival is not a one-player game. Yep. Terry says, no way TikTok flags the word. Yes, I believe it does. If you use that word, I think a little too much, it might start, looking at you. And then once it sees that you're not bowing down to a certain group of people, then you might have some heat coming your way. You might not get recommended and stuff like that. So Terry says, oh no, I read that comment. Mulatto Priest says, mulatto means mostly sub-Saharan African and European mixed. Yeah. Terry says, but let's say the hard R freely. Yeah. It lets people say the hard R freely. Yeah, it does. I've seen some lives, with a ton of people in there, man. And they got hard R's, all variations of the N word. They got the R word. They're saying all kinds of stuff. But again, it's about, what's your content about? If it's something that is like socially acceptable, if it's within the Overton window, if it's something that powerful people would approve of, then they're going to just give you a little bit more leniency. But with us, we're kind of going against the grain. Okay? Identifying as Latto is very punk rock. Just so y'all know. We're like the most punk rock of any identity out there. Okay? We're not pop. We're not freaking R&B. We are punk rock. We're resisting something, yeah? So people don't like that. Yeah. Blackie says, I figured it out. Damn, why would be flagged so much for freedom of speech? But yes, I understand now. Yeah, most people don't believe in freedom of speech. And definitely these platforms don't. They all have some kind of agenda, something they want to push. And so they're just going to come down on you if you're not actually helping them with that, But if I were making some vapid, empty, cat content or something, then we'd all be big. All of the content creators here would be freaking huge if we were doing some BS like that. Zyra Phoenix says, I am not Latto, but I'm loving listening to your talk. You're very educated. Thank you very much, Zyra Phoenix. Thank you for being here. Yeah, everybody's welcome here. Even if you have a different mix, because I'm genuinely interested in all kinds of mixed people. Even if you're not mixed, like we just earlier had Congo Money on here. He's a guy from the Congo, and he has a very interesting life. And I brought him up here on one time, and he was talking about it. It was very interesting. So definitely love having a diverse group of people here. But it's Latto Talk because that's what I am, and that's kind of the focus of these lives. Blackie says those quite a few were just the owners of the liquor stores. Oh, okay, you're talking about the Koreans. I went to high school in that area back in 99, only had 3 Korean classmates and 1 Anglo-Saxon classmate. Okay, gotcha. The rest were BLK and Brown. Latto Priest says, you can say the hard R on here, but not mulatto. That's crazy. So like I said, I think you can say it, but you're just going to get flagged. They're gonna look at you. Mulatto Genesis says, we are stubborn also about our identity, even though it seems like wild world, the whole world is against us. Yeah. Terry says, mules are so smart and intelligent. Dude, people who have domesticated animals love mules. Yeah. Diane says, I'm Castilian. My ancestors from Spain. Interesting. From Castilla. That's dope. Terry says, Scottish, German, Jamaican, and Black American. Jamaican too. Nice. We've got someone here with a Chinese name. I think I know some Chinese. Ni Hong. Yeah, is that right? Ni Hong. I don't know anything else beyond that. Oh wait, no, I know Dao De Jing. That's the only other thing I know. That's because I love Taoism though. Blackie says, I'm 99.9% Mayan with 0.01%. Are you really Mayan? That's dope. I've met some Mayan people in real life. I freaking love Mayan culture, dude. I got to see the Mayan pyramids too. Oh man, so amazing. Being out there in the jungle. I got to eat some Mayan food too. Some, what is it? Kakik. I think Pepian is also Mayan. Let's see. Wes says, brother, I'm begging you to make me a mod. Oh, I don't even really have any mods. I don't have mods because I don't understand the point of having mods. Like I'm not big enough to like need mods. But yeah. Mulatto Priest says, I identify as mulatto openly in real life now. I don't even use biracial. Yeah, I've stopped using, biracial and mixed. It depends on the situation, but for the most part, I'm just gonna say I'm mulatto. Yeah. But I race of rarely ever comes up that much. There was a time when it came up a lot because I had friends who used to one drop me, and I just, for the longest time used to just accept it. And then it got to a point where I was like, you know what, I'm going to have to start correcting them. And I think now they're starting to get it, but yeah. Mulatto Priest says biracial is too vague and lumps us into other mixes. Yeah. I also have some other issues with the word biracial and mixed, and I'm going to be releasing a video soon. Okay, maybe not soon, but at some point this quarter, dissecting specifically the term monoracial and mixed race, because I've been thinking about those two terms, and I've got some issues with those terms, monoracial and mixed race. And so look for that on my long form YouTube channel, Papa Mulaton. Let me put that up there. On my long form channel, Papa Mulaton. That's where I usually have a lot of my kind of like deeper subjects. Like I have like deep dives into things. I'm going to be releasing a video at some point soon too about the recent census change that happened. Apparently Middle Eastern and North African people just got their own category on the census. And so I'm going to do a deep dive into that and how it relates to us. So look forward to that. Let's see. Diane says TT doesn't like political truth on the left. You mean political truth on the left? I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I feel like TikTok is just establishment. So if you're left or right, but you're anti-establishment, TikTok is not gonna like you. They are just pro-establishment. You have to toe the line. You have to stay within that Overton window. Democrats and Republicans, they really hate each other. Ooh, there's really a big difference between the two. So I meing, it's whatever. Terry says gets them riled up. Joe Castro says the accent was on point. You're talking about my Chinese? You like that, didn't you, man? It sounds even stupid whenever I hear it come out of my mouth. That's literally how Chinese is, though. They have like the tones. So you have to do like there's like the falling tone, and then like the rising and the falling rising tone, and you got to do all that stuff. Like, let me see. I've got some notes in here from. I used to have some Chinese friends, and they taught me some Mandarin, if I can find it, and if I remember anything. Let's see. Mandarin. Okay, this is goodbye in Mandarin. 再见. Did I do it right? Okay, this is please in Mandarin. 请. Dude, I'm ready. I'm ready for freaking China. Let's go. Baki says, my dialect is Chui. Chui, really? Okay. Let me look that up real quick. Chui, Maya language. I think the Mayan people I met, they were, let me see what part. Chui people in Guatemala. In Huehuetenango. San Mateo, San Sebastián, Coatán, Nenton. Okay. The people, I can't remember the dialect of the people that I met. It was something with a K. Let's see, what was it? Kakchikel. It was that one, Kakchikel. Kind of over by Chimaltenango in that area. Okay, so I need to get with these chats. Let's see. Terry, some Italians are actually interested in my mix. Nice. I've met a lot of Italians. They're really cool. Diane, thank you for following. Terry says, even though the ones in my area are extremely anti-race mixing miscegenation. Ooh, okay. Mulatto Genesis says, mules are a cultural symbol to me. For mulattoes, they are resilient, loyal, smart, and hardworking. Yep. Blackie, I've been, yes, pepian, the seed from squash bomb. Okay. Mulatto Genesis and underappreciated. Wes, so make me the first. I'd keep watch of the chat for you while you read news articles. I'll think about it, Wes. I don't think I need a moderator, though. Because what do moderators do? They just kind of like ban people or whatever, like just kick people out, I'll think about it. Diane says tapping to give you hearts is not working. Really? I forgot to tell people that. Yeah, tap the screen and get the likes up. We're at 1.5K. That's good, but we can get to 2K. I've still got a bunch of stuff to talk about anyway. We're at 48 minutes in. All right. Terry says, that's why I love those intelligent animals. Blackie says, I've been to Chichen Itza, Palenque, Tikal, and a few others. It's an awesome experience. Yep, it definitely is. Zyro Phoenix, thank you for the follow. Mulatto Priest says, Italians typically see everyone as human, but they're very nationalistic and aren't really down with race mixing like that, at least the older ones. Yeah, usually older generations are going to be like that. I traveled to Europe. I've never been to Italy, but I traveled to other parts of, oh my God, my freaking camera. I traveled to other parts of Europe, and I kind of got that impression about people, yeah. Let's see, where was I? Terry, I'm still considering a Mulinyan to them. I have no idea what that means. Mulatto Priest, my grandmother was the one who broke that. Oh, yeah. Blackie says, there's a small town in Guerrero, Mexico, Costa Chica, where there's still full-blooded Afro mix. Afro-Mexicanos, yeah. So, yeah, in Costa Chica, they have a lot of, depending on what you would call them, they're like either lobos, sambaigos, or pardos. But they're mainly people that are mixed with African and like native. And I've seen a few people there that look like Lattos. I don't know. But that's a very interesting part of Mexico, yeah? Mulatto priests, they're not fond of BLK like that. Diane says, do you watch anime? Not as much as I used to, but yeah, I used to watch a lot of anime. I would say my favorite animes are probably like Death Note, Attack on Titan. Let's see, what else? Obviously, like the classics like DBZ, Pokemon. What else? I tend to like more of like the darker stuff, the more like sci-fi, horror related things. Cowboy Bebop's another classic. But yeah, anime is dope. Mulatto Priest says it's mostly the older ones like that though. Yeah, because I actually dated an Italian girl, so younger generations are a little more open about that stuff. Blackie says we call them European Americans. Really? Diane says hearts are working now. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. We're at 1.9K. We're almost there. Let's get it to 2K. Let's see if my camera works again. Turn the camera on. Oh, there it goes. Okay. I probably need a new camera. I don't know why this one just randomly shuts off like that. Mulatto priests, the younger ones I know of pretty much just consider themselves white and don't really care. Gotcha. The Italians that I knew that came straight from Italy, they didn't really view themselves as white. They primarily identified with being Italian. And, you know, I feel like for some people, that whole white black thing is usually if you're somehow connected to American culture, you have some idea of it, or if you have some other group of people within your own communities or in your country. So if you're like from some small Italian village, let's say, there's no reason for you to identify as white. But then if some like African immigrants start showing up, then you're going to be like, oh, wow, there's a very big difference between the two of us. And then those labels might become useful. Although I would say I don't really like those labels, white and black. They're kind of lazy and they usually just refer to skin color, even though some people like to pretend it doesn't, but yeah. Blackie says, I'm from San Sebastian. Really? That's awesome. Mulatto priest says, usually the white friends I have tended to be Southern or Eastern European descended, I notice. Yeah, I haven't really met too many Eastern European people here in the States. Blackie says, Kanjopal. Mulatto Genesis says, they are the best survival animal, been in wars, exploration, agriculture. Yeah, I was surprised when I heard about that. Like mules were used in wars too. That's crazy. Blackie says, I'm from San Sebastian. We have 5 towns around us, and each town speaks its own dialect. We ain't even that far apart. Spanish is what lets communicate better. Yeah, that was my understanding. There's like a 1,000,001 dialects of the Mayan languages, and some of them use Spanish to, understand each other. And I was surprised that some of them don't even know Spanish. There's a lot of people who only know the Mayan language. Yeah. Wes says mods are just an extra set of eyes. Okay, gotcha. Blackie, no, I read that one. Let's see. Mulatto says Mulinyan means BLK essentially. I believe it's a type of vegetable that's black. Really? Terry says it means black in Italian, as in black mule and eggplants in The Sopranos. Really? I've never heard that word before. It's their version of the N-word. Okay. Gotcha. That's funny. In Spanish, it's mayate. But in Italian, I guess it's mulignan. Oh, man. Sounds like a Disney movie, though. Let's see. Mulatto Genesis, they are so forgotten, the most underrated animal on earth. Mulatto Genesis says, hell yeah, Mulaton, I didn't know you F with anime. Oh yeah. Mulatto Priest says, Cowboy Bebop's the shit. Oh yeah. It's freaking awesome. And that theme song. That's freaking awesome. Terry says, that's why we're bringing them back. Blackie says, I always wonder the ones from Costa Chica, which part of Africa they descend from, since they on the Pacific coast. I mean, who knows? Yeah, Terry says the theme is iconic. Oh, man. Mulatto Priest says, yeah, I was talking about Americanized multi-gen ones. They just see themselves as white. Yeah. Okay, let me skip some comments because I think I'm way behind. Y Duran says, I will love to watch a collaboration with the YouTuber The Mixed Lens. Oh, I know The Mixed Lens, yeah. I've seen some of her content. I haven't seen it as of late, but yeah. Y Duran says, she's amazing. Mulatto Priest, I went to school with a lot of Poles. I remember I had a Polish girl who was interested in my mix. Oh, awesome. Awesome, yeah. I haven't met too many, have I met any Polish people here in the States? I've met some when I've traveled abroad, but I don't know any Polish people. Kay, thank you for the follow. Let's see. Blackie Airbrush Art, thank you for the follow. Terry says, yeah, Irish people are interested in my mix as well. They actually claim me. Really? Mulatto Priest, the end credits theme is emotional for me and Cowboy Bebop. Yeah. I'm not reading that name. Latinos are not Native Americans. Okay, so, I mean, you're kind of getting into semantics. Because technically, yeah, Latinos can be Native Americans, but you'd really have to define what you mean by Latino and what you mean by Native American. Terry says, as one of them, 1% drop of Irish bloods means you're Irish, right? We use their propaganda against. Yeah. Okay, so skipping some. Terry says, a lot of mestizos, Anglos, Irish Italians, tiny hats, etc. Okay. Oh, you're talking about people where you live. Yeah. Okay. So I said I wanted to give an example of another example of when community is very necessary. And this is an extreme example. So I gave you all some of the more likely examples whenever there's riots, whenever there's like chaos or something, or maybe there's like a disaster and there are looters. You want a community to protect yourself, your family, if you have businesses, your home. You want a community to do that. That's not something you can do on your own, freaking like Rambo style. But an extreme example is a story I heard from a guy that lived in Bosnia during the war. So Bosnia is this small Slavic country in Southeast Europe. It borders with like Serbia, Croatia, and there was a time period where, we get the word Balkanized from this time period. There was a war that broke out, and what was formerly Yugoslavia broke up into all these different smaller countries, and there was a big war. And so, actually, am I getting that right? Let me check something. Yugoslavia war. I want to make sure I'm giving y'all the Yugoslav wars. Yes, okay, I am right. So it was the Yugoslav wars in the 90s. So in the 90s, war broke out in Europe between the former Yugoslavia countries. And the story is from this guy from Bosnia. And basically, society had collapsed. The government was basically no more. It was just war. It was every man for himself. There was no police coming to protect you. There was no calling 911. And the situation that he found himself in was that there were like roving gangs of people going around, like just unaliving you, stealing whatever food you had, and he had to find a way to survive. So luckily, this guy, he not only had a community, but he had a big family. Yeah. And when I say big family, I don't mean like he had like 3 kids. I mean, he had like probably like 5 kids. And then he had aunts and uncles and cousins, grandparents. This guy had a big family. And he was well connected with his neighbors. Yeah. And so he was describing how that was the key to his survival when chaos broke out during the war. It wasn't that he had like boom sticks, although that helped. It was that he had a lot of people in his family, in his community, and they were able to keep each other safe when there was chaos in the streets and there was no police, anybody there to help them. And I mean, I could go in some of the details of like how we survived, because like a lot of people don't understand what it's like to live in that situation. I personally don't understand either, but he was describing things how like there's a lot of things that you really need whenever shit hits the fan that you wouldn't realize that you need. He was talking about how like the currency that they used, they didn't use money, obviously, because there was basically no government anymore. The currency they were using was basically like alcohol, like liquor. Like if you had liquor, you could pretty much get anything you wanted. You could get boom sticks, you could get food. I'm pretty sure you could probably get women too. I don't know. Like liquor was like the currency. And there was a lot of other things that he mentioned that you really needed to survive, but it was really important that he had that family and that community. And so I'm not saying that things are going to get like that here in America. I highly doubt it. But we are going through a lot of civil unrest, I would say. There's a lot of things happening all over the country, a lot of violence. Things might only get worse. I mean, who knows? And so this is the time where we need to like really start talking about community and really highlighting that need for that, because you're not going to survive if you're just by yourself or you're just like one person in a group of like 5 or something like that. You really want a community. And like I said, I gave all the examples of the rooftop Koreans, a lot of the Muslim communities during the George Floyd riots, the tiny hats during COVID. Like these people have communities and they're able to protect themselves and defend everything that they've built and preserve not only their identity, obviously, and their culture, but also keep themselves healthy, keep themselves alive. So community is everything. And also I will add, community is the foundation of pretty much any goal that you want. There's a lot of people on here who have like certain goals that they want for the mulatto people. And I guarantee you, whatever it is, the first step is going to be having a community, a physical real world community. Do you want mulatto on the census? You're going to need a community for that. Why would they put you on the census if you don't even have a community? You want a lot of mulatto representation out in the world. Why would we represent people who don't even have a community? You want a lot of Latto celebrities being proud to identify as Latto, but what do you have to offer them with identifying as Latto? You don't have a community. BLK people got a community. Granted, it's dysfunctional, but it's something. Yeah. There's a culture associated with that is partially theirs. It's also partially ours. But I mean, you know what I mean. So the foundation for almost every goal that you can think of is going to be that community. And the problem is that, building a community, it requires a lot of hard things. I intend to make a video on this at some point going in detail, but, a lot of people want to do the easy things like I don't know, like making videos, like making videos is like the easy thing to do. Doing lives like this is kind of easy. And I'll admit it's fun. And it's absolutely necessary. Like we need lives like this where we can all come together and talk in the chat, talk on the panel. Also, my panel is open. So if anybody wants to join the panel, you can come up. We need these lives and these group chats and all these things, but this can't be the only thing we do. We can't just be doing the fun, easy stuff. Yeah, we gotta start having deeper conversations, and I definitely want to push that this year. And we gotta start doing more of the hard stuff. Yeah, so I think we can do it. We definitely can do it. Let me get to the chats, and then we'll move on to the second story. What's the second story? The second topic, I should say. The second topic is talking about one-droppers and how I don't believe we can trust people who enforce the one-drop rule. Let's see. Where was I? Wes says you opening up the panel. Yep, my panel is always open. Unless I like explicitly say like it's not, but Mulatto Priest says that makes sense. There's a lot of first-gen European immigrants there. Terry says a lot of mestizos. Oh wait, I already read that one. I read that one. Talking about New York. Okay, here we go. America fits into Nigeria with still 200 mile spaces free of land to fill up. Wait a minute. America fits into Nigeria. Are you talking about like the landmass of America fits into Nigeria? Is that really true? Blackie says, I have always wondered why America went to war with Bosnia. Thanks, bro. Well, I don't know the exact reason why, and I don't think we had a good reason to do it, but we definitely, I think we may have made the situation worse. But I'm going off of memory from what I read a long time ago. I'm not too familiar with that war, though. I just know that one story from that one guy. Mulatto Genesis says, one person in Boom Boom Stick does nothing. A community with Boom Boom Sticks is power. Yeah. It's the same thing with like a lot of these like right-wingers and conservatives who are like, oh, I've got my Boom Boom Stick and I go to the range every weekend and he's ready to take on the government if tyranny takes over. And literally that's the fun, easy part. The fun, easy part is collecting a bunch of Boom Boom Sticks and going to the range every weekend. Yeah. But you're just having fun. The hard part is trying to build a community around that, having a family. And, for some people, that's just really hard because it requires you to kind of get out and talk to people. There's a lot of trial and error. You're gonna meet people that you think are gonna be a good fit for you and your community, and then it just turns out they're not. One of the things that happens with this with the online like Latto space is there's a lot of times there'll be like new people that come in and they seem like they're really on the same page with us, but then it turns out not really. And then, you kind of have to go your separate ways and stuff like that. And people will come, people will go, and you just kind of have to keep at it, not let that get you down, and just keep trying to build that community, And I think we can do it, but it's not gonna be easy, but it's definitely feasible. We definitely can do it. Mulatto Priest says, kind of like how in prison cigarettes are currency. Yeah, exactly. Mulatto Priest, you never know what'll happen. Blackie says, image 2026 with camera on a phone. Jermaine says, hey, from Cape Town, South Africa. So interested in what y'all are talking about. Awesome. Welcome. Good to have you here. Let's see. Jermaine, thank you for the follow. Mulatto priest, individualism and collectivism are both important and play a role in our survival. Yeah, there's you've got to have like some kind of balance, you know, like when it comes to politics, I tend to lean more towards individualism. I kind of believe that the government should view people as individuals. I believe like in individual liberty. But when it comes to your personal life, I think that's where you got to have that balance between collectivism and individualism. You don't want to have you don't want to lean too far in one direction. And I'm not saying that necessarily it needs to be like some kind of 50-50 thing, but because everybody's a little bit different, but you need to have a collective while also allowing room for individuality and for individuals to have some level of freedom. Yeah. Because I think some people are too binary. They're too black and white. You know, they want to just be individualist or just be collectivist. You know, I think when it comes to like your personal life or like the social realm, I think there does need to be that balance between the two. When it comes to like politics and like economics, I kind of like way more on the individualist side. I'm kind of averse to collectivism in that realm. Yeah, but. Yeah. Jermaine says, in South Africa, my race is on the ballots. The word is not appropriate for American audiences. Oh, are you colored? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's great. I've actually made a few videos talking about coloreds in South Africa. I'm really interested in like the racial dynamics down there in South Africa. It's really awesome. But yeah. Mulatto Genesis says, because everyone wants to be a victim here, responding to Jermaine. Mulatto Priest, there needs to be a common goal with any collectivism, though. Yeah, you got to have a common goal, shared values. You know, I've been kind of mulling this idea in my head of a video talking about what our values should be. And I think it's a good experiment for everybody to sit down for like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, and just write down on a piece of paper or open up like, the notepad on your phone and say, what are the things that I value the most? Yeah. What are the things that I truly value the most? Are you going to put like money or like family, a car, a big house? I don't know, like, progressive politics. I don't know what the things you value the most, and I think when you do that, then you have to start thinking critically about those things. Yeah. Because I've noticed a lot of people don't like to think critically about the things they believe. They like thinking critically about what other people believe. They love dissecting and analyzing all the things that their opponents may believe, but when it comes to their own beliefs, they don't want to think critically about it. But that's kind of the whole point of being a critical thinker. It's that you think critically about the things you believe. So I think, you write down the things you value the most, you put them in an order, and then you sit down and you truly think about those things and the implications of those things. What does it take to achieve those things, to maintain those things, Y Duran says, I am in. Awesome. Wes, I'd love to join the panel for the second story. Okay, cool. Mulatto Priest says, like the Amish are the perfect example of a community. If anything hits the fan, they're ready. Dude, yes. The freaking Amish, they are like the example, I can do without the suspenders and the weird beards with no mustache, but like they have a very admirable thing going there. And one of the things I've noticed about a lot of these communities that are the best at preserving their identity and their culture is they have kind of either a hate or a love-hate relationship with technology. Yeah. A lot of these cultures, they usually either in the extreme Amish sense, don't use any technology. Although there are some Amish that do use technology, or they're like, for example, the Jays, the Little Hats, they have an entire day where they don't really use technology, you know? And I think, you know how you look back in history and you see like these videos of like these young people and these black and white screens with cigarettes in their mouths and just like smoking all over the place, not knowing what they're doing, you know? They're just like, just smoking all over the place. And, you know, now we're like, man, what was those people doing? You know, they're over here with like these like processed like TV dinner meals and stuff. And they didn't know that they were like destroying themselves. And I think that's kind of what we're doing now with our latest technology. I could be wrong on this, but there's absolutely something that we are doing right now that 100 years from now, people will say, what were those people thinking? Why couldn't they see that they were damaging themselves, that they were causing themselves harm? There's something that we're doing right now that is causing that. And I'm willing to bet that a big part of that is going to be like social media. I think social media is probably something that's really damaging us. And we're going to look back on this time, like decades from now, and there's probably going to be a lot of people with a lot of mental problems, emotional problems and stuff. And we're going to see that, man, what were we thinking doing all that stuff? You know? Now, I'm not advocating of like, abandon all technology. Let's go back to horse and buggy. But I think there is some wisdom that can be learned from all these other cultures that really approach technology cautiously. They're not just willy-nilly accepting whatever new tech slop is out there, you know? So, yeah. Jermaine says the one-drop rule is not a thing in South Africa. Mixed race people form a different race. Yeah, y'all are, there's some bad things, in South Africa's history when it comes to race, but the lack of a one-drop rule is not a bad thing. That y'all were right to not have a one-drop rule. I like that there's like a separate category for colored people. They are not the same as the Bantus. They're not the same as the Europeans. They're different. Yeah. Mulato Priest asking Jermaine says, every mixed race person in South Africa is just colored, aren't they? That's my understanding, yeah. Wes says, miss you guys talking to suburban mulattoes. Yeah, I've been wondering what happened to y'all. Suburban Mulatto says, we've been sick. We're doing our next live Tuesday night. Awesome. Can't wait. Y'all been out for like 2 weeks now? I was like, come on. Let's see. Wes, thank you for sharing the live. Jermaine says, yeah, dang, you even got the spelling right. Yeah, you gotta throw that U in there when you spell colored. Let's see. Okay, so Wes is talking to them. Let's see. Let's see. Why Durant, if you ever do a meetup, I am in. Oh yeah, that's another key component about building communities is meeting up. And I really want to push that. And I think I want to do that this year. I think this year, I can't say when, I want to start meeting up with you guys. Even if it's just like a few hours or something where just like a lunch, a dinner or something. But that's going to be something that's very useful. Obviously, it's something you would have to be careful of. You would have to meet up with people that you actually have a good relationship with, at least online. And so that's going to be very crucial for community building. Is transferring these online relationships into IRL relationships. It has to happen. Yeah. And I really want to try to push that. So I was considering going to the freaking Critical Mixed Race Studies Conference in LA in February. I think it's like 2 weeks from now. No, 3 weeks from now. I think it's on the 19th to the 21st. a Thursday to Saturday. I was considering going, like actually attending that event, but then I decided no, because I think you have to register with that organization and basically completely dox yourself to these people. And I've already spoken about that organization on a previous live, and they are pro-Blatt. They are anti-mixed, even though they have mixed race studies in the name, but they're anti-mixed. They believe that mixed race people play a role in like YT supremacy and anti-Blackness. They believe that mixed race people have the responsibility to fight anti-Blackness. And I'm pretty sure they believe that we have Blackness, even though we don't. So I don't want to dox myself to an organization like that. So then I thought about maybe just like, maybe not attending the event, but going like to the event and maybe like creating content by interviewing people as they're like coming and going, leaving the event, because it's on the UCLA campus. But even then, I'm not sure, you know, because I fully intend to like show my face and start doing content like cammed up, but I don't know if I want to do it in that environment, you know. But you know, we got a lot of Lattos out there on the West Coast, also in New York City, on the East Coast. So I definitely want to meet up, though. Definitely want to meet up. All right, let's get back to the comments, and then I'll move on to the next story. Let's see. Man, TikTok really doesn't like it if you're not constantly talking. I'm already getting warnings that things are too quiet. Iberian says, I want the government to have complete power, even on the way people wipe their asses. JK. I guarantee you there are some people who truly believe that. The government should choose what kind of toilet paper I use. Jermaine says, yes, I'm colored. Mulatto priest, I agree. I'm an individualist myself, but I am a collectivist when it comes to commonality. For example, I'd say I'm an identitarian when it comes to being Latto American specifically. Yeah. You know, everybody's an identitarian to some extent. You know, if you define identitarian as having an identity and wanting to preserve that identity and have a community with people that share that identity. Yeah. Let's see. Mulatto Priest says, yep, it's the dependence on technology. I'm guilty of it. I'm an American Zoomer, so I'm glued to my phone because I can't stand people. Yeah, I'm definitely with you on not being able to stand people. I don't know. I'm trying to think about like my technology usage. I do use my phone quite a bit. But I'm not really like a social media kind of guy though. Like I only recently started making content. And I'm about to go on a year making content, but yeah. I don't know. Wes, thank you for sharing the live. Terry says, so used to nature, it's beautiful. Latto nature is beautiful, especially being a teenage Latto getting a wake-up call. Yeah. Dude, I love nature. I wanna get into hiking, man. I wanna find a giant ass mountain in America and just go hiking. Hit up the Rockies. Let's see. Latto Priest says critical race theory jargon. Yeah, exactly. Like that word critical in there, it's kind of a red flag. Iberian says it makes people play a role in YT supremacy. Isn't it the BLK man's fault because he's dating out? It makes people play a role in YT supremacy. I'm not sure which one you're talking about or what you're referring to. Latto Priest says always blaming somebody else because they don't want to solve their own problems. Yeah. Because Yeah, that's also something that's characteristic of almost anybody. And there goes my freaking camera again. Is like nobody wants the problem to be themselves. You know, they always want the problem to be someone else, and therefore the responsibility to solve the problem is someone else. Because it's a little hard to reflect internally and figure out where you went wrong, because that would mean there's something wrong with you. You made a mistake, and a lot of people don't want to accept that. Mulatto Priest says, I'm going to start making more in-depth content eventually. Yeah. Iberian says, get yourself an adventure bike. Like a mountain bike? That would be fun. Jermaine says, you got to come to Cape Town for the most spectacular hikes you will ever see. Really? I don't really know that much about like the geography and like the landscape of Cape Town or South Africa in general, but I mean, I'm down for anything. Okay, so next story. I guess it's not really a story. It's just a commentary that I want to make. So let's see. Which one is it? Here we go. The one drop rule is a deal breaker. Okay, so what do I mean by this? So, people who enforce the one drop rule, like true believers in the one drop rule, I don't believe we can trust these people, and I don't think we can count these people as allies, okay? Now, this may seem like something obvious, something very basic, but I get the feeling that some people may not understand this, yeah? Because one of the things you have to realize is the one drop rule is essentially disqualifying our own identity as Latto, yeah? And although the one drop rule is actually not only used in the American sense, when it comes to like BLK Americans, I've heard instances of Asians using the one drop rule when it comes to Wasians, but for our purposes, it's almost always going to be BLK people enforcing the one drop rule, and then some YT people who either support BLK people or YT people who are just plain racist. So, when it comes to people who actually enforce the one drop rule, some people may be just going with whatever the societal norm is, because here in America, the one drop rule is the norm. That's what is expected. That's what people just default to. And so there are some people who enforce the one drop rule, but they haven't actually given it much thought. And you can convince them otherwise by just explaining it to them. So I don't want to say that like everybody that enforces the one drop rule is beyond convincing or beyond saving or anything like that. Some people, they actually may just default to that. But if you just say, hey, blah, 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 give them an explanation, then that'll open their mind up. That maybe, and then from there they can be like, yeah, you know what, this is kind of not really a thing. When it comes to like YT people, for example, they're always, I think, going to be a little bit hesitant to not enforce the one drop rule, because they may find themselves in a situation where they've got BLK people interrogating them and calling them names for not enforcing the one drop rule, and then they don't have like the ammunition to be able to respond back or counter these kinds of arguments. So we can't really fault people in that regard. But this comment that I'm making is specifically for the people that are the true believers in the one drop rule. No matter what you tell them, no matter what, they're just going to keep saying that you are whatever you look like, you are their race, and you're not mixed. You're just whatever they are. And there's no convincing them. These people, you can't trust these people and you can't view them as an ally. These kinds of people will always try to disrupt any of our efforts. Anytime we try to build something or we try to achieve something, they will be there to make sure that we fail. Okay, and I mean, we can understand because most one droppers, they're usually power hungry people. They want they see in you a foot soldier. They see someone that they can utilize for some political goal, and if you're resisting that, then you're resisting their effort to have authority over you. And so when we resist it, obviously because we're Lattos and we believe that the world isn't binary, it isn't black and white, that there are gray areas and there are mixed people, then they're gonna say, okay, you're getting a little too uppity. I'm gonna need to put you in your place. Okay, so I don't care like how nice someone is. I don't care how much you think you can relate to them. If they're enforcing the one drop rule and they truly believe in it, they are not your friend. They are not your ally. Yeah. Hey, I see we got Eurasian Identity in here. What's up? She says, some people will acknowledge that mixed people are mixed, but still call them black or white, they will say. Oh, yeah. Because that's one of the compromises that, I guess it's a fake compromise where they still win. They'll say, oh, you can be mixed and black, you know? Or I guess in your case, you know, you can be mixed and Asian. But that's just them getting their foot in the door, because eventually they're going to expect you to drop that like mixed label and just identify with the black label or the Asian label, you know? Eurasian Identity says mixed people are black and white at the same time. Yeah. That's another thing I freaking hate, though. You're both at the same time. That's directly opposed to the concept of mixing. When you mix two things, it's not both at the same time. It's inherently something different. You've created a third thing now. Southern Europeans are, Terry says Southern Europeans are definitely black then if this rule is still applied. Eurasian Identity says when the correct vernacular is mixed, people are part black and part white. Yeah. We're a mixture of of those two things. Hotep says, what is the rule? So the one drop rule is basically the idea that if you have one drop of African blood, then you're black. But we all know that's BS. Mulatto Priest says exactly, if they don't respect our identity, then we can't trust them. Yeah. So it's different. Like, hey, maybe you can trust them in other issues. Let's say you have a friend, okay, that you've known for a while, and for whatever reason, they're just like, nah, one drop rule. That's the way to go. Like, that's a big red flag. You know, I don't know if I could go as far as saying like, okay, I'm not going to be your friend anymore, or I'm not going to associate with you if you're a family member. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of us have one droppers in our family as well. And, you know, maybe, I don't know, because I'm trying to think of, I don't think I have one droppers in my family, or if I do, I don't associate with them for other reasons. But yeah, I mean, the second you say like, oh, I'm a Latto and I have these goals that I'm trying to achieve, then even if that one dropper is someone close to you, they may very well prioritize their racial identity over their friendship or their family ties to you, and say, I don't care if you're family, I don't care if you're my friend, I see you resisting my racial worldview, so now I'm going to play saboteur. Yeah. Okay, so let me I think I saw Mulatto Priest trying to jump up on here.
Hello?
Hey, what's up, man? What's on your mind?
Oh man. Yeah, I was just
Like basically, yeah. I was basically saying because you said like you don't think that you know any one droppers in your family. I pretty much have some, but it actually wasn't too long ago where I fully started identifying as a mulatto because, like I said, I'm kind of a multi-gen. So for me, understanding that I was mulatto was more difficult because it's like I'm like 60-40. And the way I was created was, my dad was like Black American, and my mom was like a quadroon or like a majority white mulatto, and you can create mulattoes that way really. And the interesting thing is they don't understand that we can be created in like multiple different ways, which I find to be very interesting, whereas monos, not so much really. And so, you know um like with the one droppers in my family, you know I could kind of forgive them because they're like older and whatnot, and I think for a long time they've always just kind of seen mixed people as black because that's been the stigma. But with a lot of these other people, especially like people in our generation or even like maybe slightly younger who do it and they know what they're doing, no, like we can't trust them at all, at all. In terms of like this, racial sovereignty, no, we cannot trust one droppers really.
Yeah, I agree. And if the person is worth saving, if you think you can get through to the person, if you've got a good relationship, I say go and try to do it. Try to explain to that person. You're maybe not going to get through to them on the first attempt. It may take a long time to eventually get through to person, but you definitely want to try that. But the problem is that one droppers, these are the kind of people that tend to value racial solidarity over everything. And one of the things we have to
Yes,
realize is that they don't view us as part of their race. Yeah. They view us as
they
something
don't.
separate.
Yeah, they view us as something separate, but it's like because they don't like being part of their race, so they want to claim us really to make themselves feel better about themselves really. And that's what I noticed with a lot of these especially a lot of these one droppers who are like BLK BLK people. I'm just gonna be honest. That's just what I can just sense from a lot of them because when you tell them that you identify as mulatto, and I've actually done this in person, they get really hostile about it. Like they get really defensive and hostile about it, and it's like, okay, well, we live in the United States, and you can identify as whatever you want to. So what's the issue?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's one thing that people don't understand is like, I mean, you can literally identify as whatever you want. So if it's okay for like a man to say he's a female and we have to accept it, then I feel like for us who are biologically born of two different races, then we should be allowed to identify as mixed or mulatto or whatever type of mixture we are. And if you really think about it, if we even look at the statistics right now, I don't identify as white and I never have, but statistically, like majority of mulattoes are usually, from what I've looked up in the United States, statistically, like majority of mulattoes are raised in like majority white areas usually, from what I've looked up, and they usually are raised by white mothers. So they don't even have so most of us don't even really have what you call the black experience really. So if we were at gunpoint and we were just forced to identify as one, why do we have to feel pressure to identify as black when statistically, like just statistically, like most of us have never really had that sort of black experience, as you say, or really have grown up in these majority black areas, really.
Yeah, exactly. Because that was one of the wake up calls I had whenever I guess it wasn't really a wake-up call because I was already kind of starting to embrace my mixed identity. But it was around the time like the George Floyd riots started happening, when like BLM was really a big thing. And I was hearing all these like Black people describe their experiences in America and with the police. And I was like, man, I live in an area that most Black people would never like enter because they would be afraid of not only the police but the people. And I'm like, I haven't had that experience. Like I don't hear my life experiences whenever Black people speak. So why would I even identify with that? Like, just because you're too lazy to understand the concept of mixed people and you want to have this basic binary world where there's only like 3 races or something.
Right. They want to have this basic binary world of where there's only like 3 or 4 races, really. And they'll try to say, well, mixed that's not a race. I'm like,
Right.
like, what do you mean that's not a race? I mean, really, anything could technically be like a race, really. So that's not even an argument, really. I could
Yes,
say, hey, Wes.
Hey, sorry, I interrupted again. Sorry, please go on.
Oh no, well, I was gonna say, like, they'll say, like, mixed or mulatto is not a race, and I'm like, okay, well, what is your definition of what is a race and what isn't? Because honestly, I would say at one point in time, being British, Irish, or Scottish, those were considered races. Now, obviously, those are now ethnicities, like so to speak. But at one point in time, those were kind of thought of as races. So that's kind of how the way of how you were saying before, how racial categories can change, really. But
I mean, saying that like Latto isn't a race is like saying that purple is not a color. Now you could argue that purple is not a primary. Purple is not a primary color. That's true, but it is still a color. So I mean, the thing about these like one-droppers and the people who seek to derail the movement is that they deliberately fling logical fallacies at you just to discombobulate you and take you off track. So they'll tell you that Latto isn't a race. Okay, well then I guess I'll just join the black side then. So, oh no, you can't do that. You're erasing us. Okay, well I guess I'll just join the white side then. So no, you're a sellout. Okay, so where do I go? Like, and here's the thing. The thing about you can't join the black side because that's causing damage. It's just like 99, not even genuinely, at least 85% of like the good things that have happened to at least Black America have been because you've been able to ride the coattails of some like Latto inventor who us. The one drop rule has benefited monoracial Black people more than it has mulattoes. So that's why it's really hilarious to see the benefit. It's not even like a symbiotic relationship. They overwhelmingly benefit from it, and we overwhelmingly suffer from it. So it's kind of hilarious to see the people on the beneficial side of it having an issue. I mean, look, as far as like we live in a world of binaries. We do not live in a world that accommodates the desire to be both, right? So I mean, there's this whole, well, you're both. It's like, okay, well, first of all, we're both, therefore we're neither. It's right. Like, look, if a hypothetical race war broke out tomorrow, I couldn't just join the black side for a week and then be like, okay, guys, I'll see you in 2 weeks. I'm going to go and see my cousin Freddie and Stacy. But I'll be back. I promise. I'm just going to go to the other side quickly. Like I couldn't. We don't live in a world that enables us to be both at the same time. So the only other explanation, the only alternative is to be neither, because we're not allowed to embrace both simultaneously. So yeah, I mean, and we can't embrace one or the other, because then we're just doing something wrong somehow. So I mean, look, we are navigating this the most logical way we know how, the most logical way there is. And they're annoyed, they're angry with us because their single biggest like source of anger is mulatto autonomy. So they don't like the fact that we're taking it into our own hands and being logical and pragmatic about it.
Yeah, because they think it's like what's the term? there's a term, I forgot what it's called, but a zero-sum game. They think it's a zero-sum game where if we get ahead, then they lose, and so they have to make sure we never get ahead, and that only they get ahead. So yeah, but we've got on the panel for the first time Eurasian Identity. What's up?
Hello. I didn't.
Hello.
I was a bit hesitant to join initially because obviously it's Latto talk, but I think the rhetoric being used, it applies to any mixed white and non-white.
Yeah, everybody's welcome
people.
here. All mixes, it doesn't matter, because I know there's a lot of overlap with a lot of our experiences. So yeah, you're always welcome.
Especially
especially
those who are half European, because of the resentment from monoracial non-whites. Like I feel like with other mixes, like for example Afro-Asians, I mean they catch less flack obviously because they lack European admixture, so they're not resented as much because that's what all of this is rooted in, pretty much.
I do feel that Blasians do have a hard time, but I also
they do, yeah.
But I don't. At the same time, I never feel the need to speak for either Blasians or Eurasians because I'm not one of them.
Mulattoes, we catch a lot more flack just because of the history, I guess you could say, between BLK people and white people for the most part, and and the fact that I guess and I get it to some extent, but I think it's the fact that blacks kind of have this love-hate relationship with white people, so that's really why we catch so much. Because think about it, like nobody is saying things like, oh, Blasian is a colonialist word or whatever, but with mulatto, they're literally trying to take away our whole identity by trying to say things like, mulatto is a colonialist word, so we shouldn't use it to define ourselves. So I kind of feel now, I'm not, excluding any other mixed group, but I feel like mulattoes are probably the most attacked mixed group for the most part.
Absolutely, really. It's not even close.
I mean, because it's especially because of the distance between Europeans and Africans in the hierarchy. I mean, Asians are closer to, even when we weren't a factor in all this, full Asians were getting accusations from the left, oh, you're pretty much white,
So I had a question. Hold on a sec. I had a question though. So, it is true. For us as Lattos, the two groups that form us, basically in America, they've been in a race war since the founding, and so that's kind of a big deal. And I feel like with Asians, it's a little bit different because y'all don't have, as far as I know, they don't really have that kind of antagonistic history where one was conquering another or enslaving the other.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, so I don't know, but what are some of the attacks that you get being Eurasian?
I mean, most of the attacks are references to the colonial eras that Asian countries experience, especially in Southeast Asia and such, and just kind of personal attacks on modern day comfort women is stuff that gets said to our mothers and all of that crap. There's no in the US it's very different for mulattoes because there is that history, and it's just not it's not really the same for Asians. Also, I noticed SD Hispano joined. That's mestizo people don't. Mestizo is a race, but similar to mulatto, it gets oh, it's a colonial word, so you can't use it.
Oh,
it's a word in the colonies, so you can't fucking use it. But then they call. Sorry.
Say that to me. Oh, sorry, but I was gonna say I had one person who was mestizo try to tell me, oh, well, don't call me that. That's a colonialist word. But I'm like, okay, gotcha. All right, continue.
The thing is, if it can't be used if it's a colonial word, then what can they use? And they call mestizo people Latino. Latino, if you look at the definition of Latino refers to anyone living living in Latin America, which can mean if you're African and live in fucking Brazil, you're Latino. So it doesn't accurately capture their genotype. So
let me jump in on
use?
that, because one of my favorite rappers in Spanish is a guy who's like full-blooded Chinese, and but I think he only speaks Spanish, and like he has like this line translated into English. He says he calls himself a Latino with a Chinese face. And that's one of the things he always says. And it's a perfect example. Like, a lot of people think Latino or Hispanic means some generic brown person that speaks Spanish. And that's not what it is. Latino can be anybody. Like, if you go to different parts of the Dominican Republic or Peru, you're going to find a bunch of Asians that just speak Spanish. You're going to find some like full-blooded looking African people, some like Middle Eastern people. So it's a very... I going back to the mestizo part, I think if you're gonna say it can't be used because it's a colonial word, then you can't use the word black, because black is also a colonial word. You can't call people white. You can't do any of that. So these people are just picking and choosing which colonial words they want to stop using.
Yeah, they say. Yeah, like it's a colonial word, and you're enforcing a racial hierarchy. The thing is, we literally live in a racial hierarchy. I don't really understand what they mean. Like, there's always going to be races, unless there's like 0 races and everyone is like that concept is completely destroyed, which it never will be. And I don't think it should be. Like, everyone's going to reinforce that, so I don't know what that argument is supposed to mean.
Yeah, Jermaine in the comments is saying in Brazil you get Latinos that are of Japanese descent, and that's true. There's a lot of Japanese people in Brazil. There's also even a lot of like full-blooded like German and Italian people. They're Latinos as well. So.
You know what's really funny about that? Look, I don't think you're on my side of TikTok, but you'll get a lot of people. Posting these fully European people who just happen to be from Brazil, because there are lots of, like, as you said, Germans, I think Poles as well, and you go, oh, those people aren't European, or like they aren't genetically European, or they're Latino, and it's just very funny seeing, like, just watching them cope and stuff. Look, like a horse, I love this saying, a horse, what is it? A dog that is born in a stable isn't a horse. Like, I don't understand why that's so hard to understand.
That's a good analogy, yeah.
I was paying a lot of attention to that, but I'm also kind of distracted by the stupidity happening in the comments.
What is going on?
What's your life about? What are we doing?
Bro said what was all about mine.
Hey, hey.
I think.
Hey, can I ask you something?
Wait, who?
Oh, Mulato Priest. I just wanted to ask you something now.
Wait, who is this directed towards?
Oh no, you. What's your name? L. The one that's talking right now, the female Eurasian.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, what's your Asian mix? Just curious, like, what's your Asian mix?
I'm half Indonesian, specifically Javanese and Bataknese. It's okay if you don't know what those are, because most people don't.
No, I know. I know what Indonesian is. And
like, yeah, most people don't know what Javanese is. They think it's Japanese, so I always have to clarify.
Oh, Javanese? Wait,
I know Javanese.
Javanese, Java with a V, Javanese. Yeah,
I know Javanese.
And then my other side is just Anglo-Irish. Pretty basic, yeah.
I'm surprised it wasn't Dutch.
Like every Indonesian Wasian I've ever met was Dutch. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, probably because they're the descendants of, or like they're living in Indonesia. I live in the Anglosphere. You can tell by my accent. But yeah, there are many Dutch Indonesian people.
Dope.
What's going on? What's going on, guys? Like, I can't tell who's like correct in this comment section argument, and
I don't
like I
even
just
know.
don't know what the
for
fuck's
me,
going
for
on.
me, one of the easiest ways to find out who the idiot is whoever's comments are making your brain sad is probably the person who needs to leave. So Hotep, I know that he was initially muted, and Mulato showed mercy and unmuted him. And I'm not, that it's totally your live, your rules. But I mean, I don't see. Some people shouldn't be given the ability to talk. So I just, anyone coming to America instrumental in having children is considered native. Yeah, this person is not intelligent. So
Yeah, that's
I kind of don't want to read anything that they have to say ever again in my life.
Bro, you're actually
to
funny
America
as fuck, bro.
Thank you. Yeah, Mulato. I mean, I'm just saying. If you had me as a mod, I would have muted him for you already. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I think like Mulatto, Genesis, and Jermaine seem to be having fun going with them. So
they're having fun going with him, and I'm having a really bad time watching it happen. So I guess
I'm embarrassed to even know what like Hotep means. Because yes, at one point I even myself had like a little like when I was black identified, I was kind of a pro-black type of person. So I know what Hotep means. Put it that way.
That's similar to when I was, because unfortunately many of us do have this disgusting, like very far left, very like as in like mono type far left phase, where they're like a supremacist for their non-European side. So I had that, and not just me. Like there are unfortunately like self-proclaimed like pan Asian, like I guess for you would be pan African people that are like have a whole 50% European DNA.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you ever notice, right, it's always like if you ever notice, like with the American like pro-black movements, like history, it's usually led by mulatto people because even like Elijah Muhammad of like the NOI was clearly mulatto, and then Louis Farrakhan. I mean, if you want to argue that he was like mulatto, I guess you could, but I don't know if like he mentioned his father was a J pretty much, so. It's usually
we could even take it all the way back to like, we could even take it back. We'll just take it back to Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, W.E.B. Du Bois. Like it's all of, they don't tend to get stuff done without a mulatto in the mix. So I don't understand. That's the thing that bothers me is not just the historical revisionism, but the ingratitude that it takes to resort to the revisionism in the first place.
Look at Haiti. Like Haiti was pretty much run by mulattoes in the beginning, and then I think Papa Doc took over, and then things just went downhill from there. And then you look at the island itself. You've got one half of the island that's got mostly black people, and then the other half is a bunch of mixed mulattoes and different other mixes. And they're doing so much better.
Even after they removed mulattoes from power, it's still not run. It's most like all the power and like wealth is with the Lebanese immigrants now. With like all the people running the show in Haiti really are not black still. So I don't know what they thought they.
Actually, it's still like a group of like mulatto elites, they say, that are actually running Haiti. Believe it or not, really.
And like the Lebanese immigrants there and the Polish immigrants there hold a lot of power. It's just they still don't. I want Haiti to win because it was the first. They were the first people in the first African people in the New World to uprise and to. I really want Haiti to do well, but it's not. And for so long the blame for that was placed on mixed race Haitians, and as you can see, even with minimal power and a lower population,
oh my days, what is going on?
They're still not getting things done.
Also, the American Indians are melanated. Man, what is
like, are we still on the Mestizo topic? The Mestizo topic ended a while ago. Anyway, have you guys seen this whole Sulan thing? Like, have you seen it? Yeah, and it's just funny because that popped up. I mean, I'm not really educated on the origins, but to me it looks like a movement entirely, not entirely, but mostly spurned on by social media. And I just find it funny how like they can create these like new identities so easily, but we really have to fight for like what our genotype entitles us to. Like what Wes was saying earlier about the whole trans analogy thing, like with identification, like during the 2010s and even now, there are these like completely new identities, like sexuality identities. Like people were really just fucking making up words, right? And then that was just taken as gospel. Now that is literally on like applications and stuff, and I believe like I don't know about the census, but on those like formal applications, and we just really have to like that. It's just not fair, really. Like plain and simple, it's not fair.
Right. It's just like people can pretty much identify as like whatever they want to, even if it's not like biologically accurate. Like you can have like one person say, "Oh, I'm not male or female. I'm X."
Yeah, you know what? There's also something.
There's
hold on a second, Wes. There's also something that could also be kind of a problem for us, and it's this idea that there's so many different identities out there for you. You can obviously just create an identity that you end up having a balkanization of what is actually like a single race of people. So like in the case of Lattos, you know, you have those of us who identify as Latto, and then you have those people who are like, no, I just want to identify as mixed, or I just want to identify as biracial, or I want to identify as black biracial. And they've got, or there's like, what is it, freaking like Afro-European, I think. And so there's so many different identities that you can have. And I think that could pose a problem for us trying to have any kind of unity whenever there's so many different types of identities out there for people.
Because it creates the possibility for splintering. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean,
those words you just listed, a lot of those like are pretty much used synonymously. Like that's with like kind of like how we have Eurasian, Wasian, and now like in slang Happa. Like we kind of know those to all mean the same thing pretty much. And
which was
I think the same
Hawaiians, by the way.
Yeah, that was somehow taken and to mean. I think it was due to the Asian immigration to Hawaii. I know there are a lot of full Asians in Hawaii.
Yeah.
But we all know those to mean the same thing. Like. So yeah, and I don't think different terms causes different factions. I think everyone kind of knows.
I mean, right, like, you know, some people refer to like, you know, black people as Negroes, black, sub-Saharan African, or you know, like there's just numerous terms to refer to black people as, or even white people. You know, you could call white people Caucasians or Europeans, or you know, even like slang for like Caucasoids, or even slang like what we'll use for, even though this doesn't really apply to all of them, Anglos really.
Yeah.
I would honestly like rather. I'm sorry. You go, El Mulatto.
So the thing is, with us, I've noticed that there's also some kind of splintering that happens with Latto specifically when it comes to like nationality, and just for the record, I don't really believe in that. Like I believe in like Latto unity across the board. But Eurasian identity, do you see anything like that happening with Eurasians, where there's like, oh no, we're Japanese and European, we're not going to ally with any of you other Eurasians?
No, and which is funny because you see a lot of animosity from East Asians towards Southeast Asians, but fortunately I haven't seen anything like that, pretty much. No.
Gotcha.
It's probably because your population, I feel like, I mean, you could argue is kind of, it's much smaller than ours, because I don't really think there's like a Eurasian, like a Asian that's like majority like Hoppo or like Eurasian that I can like think of really.
There are lots. Like you can only really think of places where there are many. Like in Hawaii, there are many. It's not a country, but like in California, there are many. But there are no Hapa majority places at the moment, unlike what you guys have.
I mean, you could argue like multi-generationally, like Kazakhstan and stuff, but I mean that's complex.
Oh, the thing is, Turkics, honestly, I'm so sick of... I know you don't follow me. I'm so sick of the Turkic comparison comments I keep getting because they say Turkics are multi-generationally mixed between Europeans and Asians, but the European in question is not the same as the modern-day Europeans we know. There are no Kazakhs, unless they are mixed with, like, British, French, Spanish. Like, that dates, like, way back to... Even the ancestors of Europeans, like... those like the Western hunter-gatherers and those sorts of tribes that give Kazakhs like the fair features and even give Europeans fair features, they're just not like the same as us. Like to be Eurasian is to have ancestry from a modern-day European population.
Yeah, with Central Asians, like the Turkic people, like I don't think it's appropriate to view them as being mixed with European and Asian. They're kind of like their own thing, and they're a mixture of like just different, like prehistoric peoples.
Yeah,
and
it's literally like Neolithic people. Like they've already been there. Like they are considered monoracial as much as like Europeans or Africans or all of those like groups that like they ethnogenicized, like they became their own thing in like ages and ages and ages ago. Like they're not on the new platform on like this new wave. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of like how like the indigenous people are completely different from like the modern day Asians really in Asia. Like how the indigenous people were the ones that like moved out of Asia, and now, you know what I mean, they're just genetically different from the people that are now in Asia. I mean, if you still want to consider them part of that group, I mean, you kind of can, if you just want to call them like Mongoloids, but they're still just genetically completely different from the people that are in Asia.
I read a study. I was reading a study on like Native Americans recently, and it's really like a genetic study on Native Americans. Just curious, and like apparently like they can trace 35% of their ancestral DNA to an ancient population that today would be
in Siberia.
Today would be classed as white, and then the remaining 65% could kind of cluster with East Asian, but they 35% of their DNA they share with like an ancient like Caucasian population from Western Russia or something. I just found that very interesting because I mean, they've been separated from East Asians now for like 50,000 years. Like a genetic bottleneck has happened. They just people need to let that go.
Like Hotep said in the chat earlier, Native American people are Asian people. They are not American Indians, and I think that is referencing like the fact that ages and ages and ages ago they crossed the ice bridge in Siberia, and then the thing is when they have stayed in the Americas for ages and ages, obviously their genetic genetic drift, like the climate, like they just became their own people. So like they will like genetically cluster like with like North Asians, like their ancestors, but they're their own thing as much as we're our own thing, and as much as you're your own thing. And
so the thing is, by that logic, then Europeans are Africans because they came from Africa, and then they went over into Europe. You know,
exactly.
So, and even whenever you look at the genetics of like the native peoples, like they're very different from each other, and they're also very different from modern day East Asians and Southeast Asians. So just because they descend from a group of people that lived in Asia doesn't make them Asian, because that group of people that they descend from don't exist anymore. Go ahead.
It's literally like one drop rule, but for like ancient, like just not modern people, like ancient people.
Yeah, that's because but he's saying that because I already know what he's trying to claim. He's got to be one of those.
Well,
FBA
you think he's his display name?
Well, yeah. I'm saying he's.
There are options here. There are options. He's either FBA. Or he's a Hebrew Israelite. Or he's a Hebrew Israelite. Or he's a Moor. Or he's an ancient Egyptian. Or he's an alien.
Bro, but they was
So
kangs
there's like
though.
five different.
Okay.
And this is the thing. This is the problem. Monoracial, like they're allowed to have all the identities that they want, but we can't. And they never get called confused. They never get called confused. But we claim the one identity that we actually are, and we're confused. They're allowed to be everything. They're allowed to be everything from the ancient Greeks to Martians, but I can't be Mulatto. See, this is my.
Oh wait. Oh, you forgot one. There are Vikings.
Yes, they were Vikings.
Black Vikings.
They were
Bro,
also
it's
Russian.
Sorry.
They were also Russians. And did you know that they were also the ancient Japanese as well? Did you know
Yeah,
that?
the Black Japanese, bro. You know what's
Also
funny?
the
I
ancient-
just think it's so disgusting how they use like the indigenous people of Asia. Like they'll look at like they'll be like, bro, there's literally a like island in the Philippines that's called like Negros or something. That's us, bro. That's
Negrito,
literally
yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard all kinds of theories. I plan on making a video about the negritos in all of Asia, but they literally I've heard some of the wildest things to try to kind of like explain their supremacy. They say like those native Asians, they're actually Africans who just like sailed over there or something like that.
Yeah.
Or all
But if you really wanna get- if you really
all
wanna get
people
into
were in every part of the world were black at some points or something like that. And then there's also crap, I forgot what the other theory was. Oh, the Khoisan. So the Khoisan people of like southern Africa, they have kind of like, you know, Asian eyes. They've got that, I think it's called the epicanthic fold.
Epicanthic fold.
Yeah. And so they say, oh yeah, Asian
Khoisan.
people came from the Khoisan. And I'm like, what?
No, they didn't. They just
No.
happened
The
to evolve.
Khoisan breeded with some sort of group of I guess what you call Eurasians. The Khoisans are admixtured.
Yeah.
So it can't just be that they happen to develop a similar physical trait independently of each other. They've got to be related. And you know what? Really, hey guys.
Well, actually,
Africa's the most
the
genetically diverse.
Khoisans breeded with some sort of group of Eurasians. So, like, that actually is true. Like, where they breed with some sort of group of Eurasians. The lighter skin, that's where that actually did come from.
Well,
but
it's also
but actually they don't even like doing that.
It's also a combination of their environment, though, because you have to take into account that they migrated to southern Africa like hundreds of thousands of years ago, and the environment there is a lot different.
Oh my god, guys, check the fucking chat. Not Jermaine.
The reason why Caucasian are discovering stuff is because they never.
I think we got it confirmed.
No, Jermaine, no, that doesn't make you Asian. No, I think he got confused.
Look,
but
you know what?
I was saying that
What, Wes?
You guys need to stop downplaying, African genetic diversity. Okay, there are Nigerians who look like Scarlett Johansson. You didn't hear it from me, but there are. Okay, so I think we all just need to agree that black is everything, black is life, and the rest of us are just little tidbits, on the side. But really, everyone. Hey, Alexander Skarsgård looks Yoruba. So I think this is where we're at now. This is where we're at in the scheduled programming. No one's allowed to have their independent identity because they're scared of not being able to latch on to people anymore.
Yeah, I don't think these people realize they're a joke and they're here for our entertainment.
I'm gonna look it up. Don't worry, Hotep. I'll look it up, and I bet there will be lots of primary and secondary sources.
Yeah, Jermaine says dang skin bleaching is a thing in Nigeria apparently. Yeah, the thing is I think the government of Nigeria at some point issued like a public health emergency for the amount of skin bleaching that was happening and all the adverse side effects that were coming from it. And yeah, it's such a huge thing in that part of Africa.
You know something funny about skin bleaching? Basically, like one of their like by they I just mean non-Europeans in general. Like one of their whole things is like that the incentive to skin bleach solely came from European colonization. Like before European colonization, like darker skin was like revered, like it was seen as like, they just kind of do this historical revisionism. But if you actually look into like societies that did not have European influence, you will see that there was some like weird, like basically what we have now, like the desire to be lighter, and stuff.
Oh,
Like they hate
Yeah.
when they can't blame Europeans for something.
Oh yeah, you're actually right, because if you look it up, even before the Chinese and Japanese knew that, like, Europeans had existed, they were still whitening their skin, really, because and that's pretty much how it is everywhere, even in places where there really aren't any like white people.
Yes, because
it's
of
just
class
like lighter skin is
association.
more. Yeah, it's just like kind of a symbolic thing. Like it's like
Rich
the
people
lighter
got to stay
people are
indoors. They
usually
got less
wealthier,
power. Yeah.
darker people poorer. Really, like that's just how it is. Like even
Rich
with
people got to
who
stay
are the
indoors
same
and
race.
not do work, so they remain lighter, and then the connotation. I mean, even places like India that had the caste system thousands of years before Europe was ever there. Like that's I think that's the thing. There's got to be some accountability for the colorist practices that existed pre-colonization, because I think it's really easy to just put it all on. Well, Europeans brainwashed everyone, and look, they did, but there were colorist attitudes
Before that,
there were colorist
Right
cultures
before that,
before.
Like they just added to it. Like they added to what was already existing.
Exactly, like Europeans amplified.
Oh my god,
they didn't create them. There's a difference between creation and amplification. They amplified these things.
Exactly.
Like I mean, like the caste system that's been around for like millennia. And that's nothing new. And I mean, it exists today still.
Even if Europeans did not if there were no people that we can call European today, it would still exist. Which is funny because I know these people are supposed to be our allies and stuff. Like they're like, oh yeah, we're pro mixed people. But one of the things I say is mixing will eliminate racism. Like no, I'm sorry, but it won't, because
Exactly, you're right.
I hate
because
that.
if it will eliminate white supremacy. Because dude, if Europeans went extinct and it was just us descendants remaining, there would still be conflict between who's lighter and who's not. They're actually insane people. A lot of, and that's sorry.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think? I mean, places like Brazil are where everyone's mixed. There's still conflict between darker people and lighter people, and a lot of the people that are listed as white in Brazil, it's usually just because they have white phenotypes, but they're not even what we would consider to be white necessarily, though.
Yeah.
So I mean, no, racism is always there's always going to be some reason why. I mean, white people don't like you. All right, go ahead.
You bring up something interesting, and I forgot to mention this, something that happened to me. So you're right about how white is different in other countries, and I think in Latin America, it is almost strictly a color
based
thing.
on pheno.
It's like if you reach a certain color, then you get to be white, and it doesn't really matter too much else. And the funny thing is, this is something I need to research more. In certain Latin American countries, mulatto is also just a color, and it doesn't necessarily refer to a specific mixture, even though historically that's what it was. And I'm not sure why this happened, but I literally had someone from Latin America tell me that I wasn't mulatto because I'm too light. And I mean, y'all see my hand and everything. And so
in what country is that light, bro?
I know. And the thing is, they were like, I guess my understanding is that you would have to be darker than this to be mulatto in their view. And I don't think this is a Caribbean or Central American thing. I think this is more of a South American thing, because I've heard something similar to this as well. Maybe in Cuba, I'm not sure. But I think that's, that's kind of one of the things that we all as mixed people need to take into account, is the different views of race, and not necessarily using that as some kind of knock against race, but just understanding that there are people out there who have different views, and not all of them are coherent. Not all of them are going to be the best views. And we just kind of need to figure out, okay, let's assess the situation. What makes the most sense? What does science have to say about this? What does logic say? And then just try to find our own views that make sense.
I mean, my view is just it's entirely based on genetics, which there are a lot of discussions within that. But then, out of all of the very broad, like phenotype, environment, culture, it's just based on genetics. Because
Agreed.
And the thing is, it's not that's one thing that as well they tried to do. They tried to make the confusion of various other places our problem as well. So they try to, so if one place has, certain confusion regarding mixed identity, they try to apply it to the mixed population of the world. And also, like, one thing, the thing I hate most about like this whole mixed people are going to end white supremacy rhetoric is it's dehumanizing. Like, do you remember that thing Mark Ruffalo said on Twitter? Is like, mixed people is how we're going. The more we mix, the more racism is going to go away. As if the universe like sent me to end white supremacy. Mind you, I've been subjected to it my whole life. That's like, so what exactly am I? What am I? It's dehumanizing because it portrays us as like these like sort of mythical unicorns who are here to say, nah, like we're not, and it also puts the onus on us to end it, and that's one thing I hate is like mixed people are constantly forced to take responsibility for like monoracial systems. Like it's like what, like the onus should never be on us to end it because we didn't start it, and it's just weird.
And if we're being like honest, I mean, if you live in like the United States and whatnot, I mean, if you think about like, like if you ask somebody what is white supremacy and like what it is, usually they can't fully explain it. And the thing is this though, I mean, we're not really living in that sort of era where you could say, oh man, like you can't do this because you're not white. Like there is no law that says you can't do this because you're not white. Like that literally
Oh crap! What happened?
Says that.
Yeah, you went out for a sec. I don't know what happened. You know what's funny? There was this post of someone trying to explain what white supremacy was, and they just essentially listed a bunch of customs and practices, and it was just so insane. It was like adherence to like logic, like being on time, like that's how white supremacy, because there was an era, right? There was an era where there were these crazy articles being written. It's like saying good morning is white supremacy. It was just stuff that we do every day. It's basically just Western civilization. Like, let's just be honest. Like, they just hate Western civilization.
If you're referencing the thing I'm talking, hold on, Wes. If you're referencing the thing, I think they also mentioned something about like rugged individualism and
yes, exactly.
Oh,
yes.
God.
Yeah,
yes, exactly. That is what.
And talking about like schedules and stuff, and this idea, basically, all these things that lead to like good productivity or were like all invented by white people, and like there was
So
other people
if you
that have like timekeeping as
punctuality,
well.
If you have good punctuality and basic courtesy, then you might be a Nazi. But that's
Bro,
you didn't hear it from
did
me.
you see? Sorry. Did you see the whole the reaction to the quarter zip trend? And then they're talking about, it's actually anti-black to say that a shiesty and a fucking a blicky and all that it's anti-black to not to say those are like ghetto looking things, which they are. I'm sorry, like what I mean?
Does anyone remember the thing where like diagnosing people with obesity or diabetes is anti-black? I remember that vividly.
And it was like
it's anti-fat.
Yeah, it was like it was this book where it was like the black body or something about how like African women are like sexualized or something, or like due to like their fat, like their fat butts or
fat distribution.
Yes, that's what I meant.
I mean, they are sexualized, but like
my god,
what's he saying? Why are people using code? Why are you still here?
He said the American Indian melanated people
invented everything. You just put your who's he? Wait, hold on a minute.
Melanated people.
Who is you?
We have to write their language.
Who is he talking about?
Hotep. I need you.
Who is he talking about?
Listen. Hotep. Look, you need to understand that the rest of us aren't living in your delusion. We don't need to accommodate your mental illness. Okay, you are not Native American. Your ancestors were brought over by force.
Oh my god,
Africa.
buck broken. Fuck. Oh god, that takes me back, bro. The buck breaking meme.
I can't.
You are conquered and buck broken.
The same thing. Hey, no, the careful priest. The same thing making you laugh is the same thing that's going to make you cry.
Oh my god, why would it make me cry? I'm not even in this.
Hotep, what's making me cry?
It's gonna make me cry from laughter, maybe. Yeah.
What's making me cry is your continued existence in the same cyberspace as me. That is what's making me cry. I need to get educated.
Like they must follow El Mulato or something. How do they find us? Like he would get a lot of hate
people.
followers.
They just keep scrolling.
He's got to be trolling. He's just got to be trolling. I think he's just being funny, to be honest. Oh, I know. I know. Yeah, these people exist.
I often end up in lives of people who I don't spot. What it is when you keep scrolling, like it will suggest a certain type of. So I was in one thing. Sure. I've ended up in so many FBA like lives, and I don't follow any of those people. But I think TikTok kind of puts it all under the thing of race. So
yeah, they do.
Like, so the algorithm. Yeah. So you keep scrolling, and you end up in bizarro worlds. I mean, now this is a reverse of that. Hotep is from Bizarro World, and he's ended up here. So this is this is an example of when insanity ends up in a place where people look. Hotep, nothing is documented other than your delusion. You need to go. You need to go.
It's actually like in the secret FBI files, documents that we can't access coincidentally.
Stop trying to argue myself into history. You're pretending to be Native American. You're not.
Bro, if you see on Facebook, it's like Facebook is terrible, bro. Like I'm not even like because I followed a page that's run by like Mulato Vanguard. He's one of the owners of the biracial page on Facebook. The shit that gets recommended to me, like it would I agree. Like if I had any disagreements with the idea that y'all are more discriminated against than mine, they would go completely out the window because it was just full of seething Bantus, bro.
Oh God, I can imagine. Yeah, that Facebook page that Mulatto Vanguard, I think moderates or follows. Yeah, oh my God, it is nothing but seething Bantus. I know what you're talking about. I think. Yeah.
No, like I'll literally go. Sorry. It's like biracial.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I comment on there. Oh my God, I say one little comment. I say one little comment, and somebody might start just like talking like massive shit to me, and I'm like, okay, can you disprove what I said? And usually it's just a bunch of insults, really.
Where is this page?
Yeah, like it's on Facebook. A Facebook page, yeah.
Hotep, Native American. So he says Native Americans are not American Indians. Yes, they are. This is the problem. Look, here's the problem. I understand that there is a degree of trauma with regards to how America and the world at large has treated Black Americans. So I get that it's a trauma response to try and attach yourselves to different. Because really, you're just trying to escape by calling yourself Native Americans. You're just trying to escape anti-Blackness, and I sympathize with that. But you have to understand that there were people that were here before Europeans or Africans, and they were, by and large, they were genocided. And you are being enormously disrespectful by inserting yourself into their identity. Because here's the thing:
facts.
You get angry when half Black. Well, not you. Well, Hoteps actually love this, but like you get angry when like an immigrant from Nigeria comes to the US and calls themselves Black. But you're allowed to call even though but you're allowed to call yourself Native American, and that's fine. You don't even have any connection to those people.
You know, I forgot we just had a guy in here who was Mayan. I wish he was still here to hear all this stuff.
I'm happy that he's not.
I hear Hotep essentially try to
genetically Mayan, or Native American.
Yeah, he's a Mayan guy.
99.9% Mayan, yeah.
And he still speaks the language and everything. So yeah.
Wow.
I'm happy that he's not here anymore because he doesn't deserve to be subjected to this BS. One thing, any time that this kind of thing happens, I always hope that there are no Native people around to see it because it's just too disrespectful.
Yeah.
It's just they don't deserve to be subjected to it.
I wanna respond to Jermaine's question. Jermaine said, "What do you guys think the reason is for the recent increase in hatred from the FBA monocultured?" So I mean, I don't know what you mean by the FBA hate because they kind of direct their hate basically at anybody that's not like American. So if you're like I think if you're a Latto and you have like a Black American family, they probably wouldn't have the hate against you. But if you're like me and your Black family isn't American, then they have an issue with you. And the thing is with FBAs, they're kind of they basically use the one drop rule as far as I'm concerned. But they would say that they don't believe in race and that it's only ethnicity that matters. And so there's a lot of people who are Latto and also FBAs because their Black family is from America.
Honestly, some of the most aggressively FBA people that I've encountered have been American Lattos who are super pro-Black.
Yeah,
like really Black
I've run
identified.
across a few of them.
Yeah, like even like it's and that's a conversation that I want to try and have on suburban mulattoes on Tuesday. Is like who is ultimately more dangerous to us, the Black identified mulattoes or white identified ones? That's a conversation I think I'm going to try and broach with it because I mean, to me, for most of my life, my stance has been, okay, well, white identification bad, white bad, blah, blah, blah. But like thinking about it now, like the ones who are coming into these lives, the mulattoes who are coming into these lives and like denigrating other mulattoes for identifying as such are the ones who are extremely pro-Black, who are extremely, so I think, I don't know, I'm revising a lot of positions that I've held for most of my life in light of these social movements.
Hey, Iberian, what's up?
You're not American. He said you're not American, but you don't even know what the word means.
I don't think they know
here
what
we go.
it means.
Yeah.
No,
Iberian, hold on a sec.
They want.
Hold on a sec. Iberian, what's on your mind?
Oh, I was just looking at what he's saying. But I want to piggyback off that comment about who's worse, white identified mulattoes or Black. To me, they don't really matter. It only matters who has the most political power over the identity in passing laws.
So, like, if whenever considering Black identified versus white identified Lattos, it matters more about which one has the most political power.
Yeah, whoever's influencing generally is going to be the bigger problem. Who actually, can get policies passed.
Yeah.
Honestly, I have never really met that many actual white identified like mulattoes, and it's mostly because socially, I don't think 90% of mulattoes will be seen as whites because they have colored skin. At least not in the in like the United States and whatnot. A mulatto, I've actually never I've never seen a mulatto that legit like passes as white. Like, the people who I would say, I guess what you'd call are white identified like mulattoes are maybe like, well, actually, quadroons who identify as white. But I mean, it's not like that's wrong because they technically are white people. They're just admixtured white people, really.
Like quadroons, like for example, Brittany Venti, like even even a lot of them like, get clocked by like white people as being part African. So like when IberianMulatto says who has the most political power, as in like the actual leverage, like honestly, like in the current political climate, I'd still argue that it's like the Black identified ones because everyone's bowing down to Black people, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, I would agree. Also, like just social power, if we want to analyze that aspect, it's definitely going to be Black people and Black identified Lattos. I would even argue to a certain extent politically, they do have a lot of power, maybe not the most power, but they definitely have a lot. But I think, I think also just in general, Lattos that don't identify that way are going to cause us the most trouble. Because they're usually trying to fit into some box, and they're going to basically attack us as a way to demonstrate how loyal and faithful they are to some other group of people, so that they can get that pat on the head. But
Right.
yeah,
And if you think about it, really, I mean, if a mulatto identifies as white, like typically, I guess with like what you could say, if someone's like a white nationalist or whatever, like they tend to kind of stay out of these spaces and not really care. From what I've seen, it's usually the black nationalists or whatever that try to come in and tell us like what we are and everything like that. Like with whites, every now and then you might get a white person that might try to come in and tell us, but I feel like blacks, they come in swarms, like left and right, like to try to tell us, nah, you're black, you're black, you're black, you're black. With white people, you usually, as far as I've just seen, you usually don't really get that as much, really, because I don't know. I just think they don't generally care, to be honest. They just don't generally really care, because even if they see us as black at the end of the day, they don't care what we're talking about, really.
Okay,
This is
so
a thing.
hold on a
Sorry.
sec. There's Mulatto Genesis is saying there's a lot of YT presenting Lattos. I'm kind of with Mulatto Priest. I don't see that a lot. Like even like Jermaine mentioned Mariah Carey. He thought Mariah Carey was YT. When you look at Mariah Carey's like before all the surgeries and the hair dye and stuff.
When you look at her original nose.
Yeah, she looks very Latto. And even who's another example?
Yeah.
The freaking Meghan Markle. Like even you can
I
tell.
never thought
her,
she was white.
Yeah, she
like
doesn't.
from the perspective. Sorry, from the perspective from the perspective of someone with like no African admixture, like. I have never seen a mulatto person who has presented as fully European. I guess I'm pretty into like phenotypes and being nitpicky about this, so maybe I'm different. But like, if the average person thinks a mulatto is honestly like either European or sometimes like fully African, I just think that person is stupid, because most of you'll look like what you are. It's the same with us. Like I just
exactly.
like with. Yeah, when a lot of like Eurasian people whose phenotype leans towards the non-white side, the Asian side, they'll immediately they'll just default to Asian. But I can tell, because I guess, I mean, it's not even about. I honestly feel like even if I wasn't, I don't know, but even if I wasn't who I was, maybe I'd be able to know, because other people who are not Asian and not white or not Eurasian, they're able to tell. So I honestly think it's just a bit of a personal thing based on how good you are.
The thing is, you're right though, because like even I can tell between like different types of Europeans, and I'm not even just talking about like the obvious differences, like Italian versus like German, but like I can tell the difference between like German and Polish. Like these, there are subtle differences. And Meghan Markle, I used her as an example. To me, she doesn't pass either. Now, a lot of these people were mentioning, like maybe out your peripheral vision, you might think, oh, okay, that's probably a white person. But as soon as you land eyes on them, it's like, oh, wait, this person's got a little something in them. And Mulatto Genesis is saying, if they are YT presenting, you guys wouldn't know guys because they just call themselves YT.
Yeah, that's
dude,
abnormal.
There's even some full YT people. Hold on a sec. There's even some like full YT people who have like genuinely curly hair and don't have any African ancestry, and they talk about how they're always getting asked if they're like something, So like, especially in the American context, when it comes to YT people, like people are very perceptive about when someone has some kind of mixture. And I think if you're a Latto, like, just know you don't really pass for anything, any white or black or anything.
My favorite thing is when like a person, a completely non-black person maybe has curly hair or something, and then black people are like, oh, they black. We can always tell. Like, no, you can't.
That's a sister, bro, or a brother.
Right.
Yeah, this is like no, like you can't. Most of the time, you actually can't tell at all.
Yeah. Hey, Iberian. I'll let you jump in, Iberian.
Yeah, I've actually showed a white woman pictures of Southern European white people, and she didn't even think they were white. She just thought all of them were mixed race. So they obviously, it's a big enough shift to where they don't even think that those people look white. So obviously, those people can't pass for. They know what they look like. They have a mirror.
Yeah.
Like,
Like a lot of Italians that just like the southernmost point in the Mediterranean on the European side, they kind of look a bit like Middle Eastern, MENA, Middle Eastern and Northern African, etc. And like white people, no, that's why there's a divide between like they call them Nordicists, like people who think that only Germanic Northwestern Europeans are European.
Wait. Did you guys hear about that? It was an article. Basically, it was like this French YT nationalist. He went to like some Eastern European country, and he basically got beaten up by other YT nationalists in the Eastern European country because they didn't think he was YT because of his phenotype.
Wait, so people from Eastern Europe thought that a Frenchman wasn't white?
I mean, look, if he was
from the Mediterranean look.
If he was from the south of France,
right.
Yeah, so that's what I'm using.
Yeah, if he was from like southern France,
they only see
they're a little more Mediterranean. Yeah,
they can look Spanish a lot of the time. So
I thought it was going to be like the opposite way around, because there is a lot of hatred from Germanics towards Poles. I mean, just look at like World War II and like Eastern Europeans, and like they call like anytime like a region borders another region, like for example Eastern Europe and Asia, like they're going to accuse members of that race of being of the other continent's race. Like for example, like I don't know if you guys have seen the Fingolian meme, but like they say that Finns aren't European, and like in all those Scandinavian people.
Yeah. Yeah, because like Finn, like even whenever you look at the genetics, like Finnish people are some of the most like distant people from the rest of Europe. Like I remember when I did a stream talking about the genetics of like the Turkish people and comparing it to European, like they did like this map where they mapped like the distances, the genetic distances between different groups, and it was like most Europeans kind of clustered over here, and then Finns and Russians were like way off by themselves, and I didn't even see that coming. Like I kind of knew like Finns kind of had some kind of ancestry that was a little different, but I didn't realize it was that different.
Yeah, I believe Mulatto Priest, did you make the image that you posted displaying the genetic differences between mulattoes and Africans?
Oh yeah, I actually did generate that, but it's actually like based off of genetic clusters. Now I will admit I did use Chat GPT, but it's not inaccurate though, because I mean people, because obviously, like we know, Europeans are going to have more in common with each other genetically than they would outside groups, no matter what outside group you're talking about. Just like sub-Saharan Africans are going to have more genetically in common with each other than any other outside group. And so, mulattoes, and you can actually research this really, like mulattoes in America cluster closer to mulattoes in other countries than they do to black, to blacks here really. So it's very weird when they try to call us black, when it's like, look, I have nothing ethnically in common with a Dominican person really. Like I'm fully American. I don't understand Dominican culture fully, but genetically I cluster closer like with them than I do black Americans really. So it's really weird how they keep trying to say we're black.
Exactly.
Yeah, because of
the thing is they don't see, because it's because
what about the Taino
they don't
part?
Yeah,
Like,
that's what makes them more distant from mulatto.
I mean, that's slight. I mean, I specifically said mulatto Dominicans, really. I mean, because you got to remember, like most Dominicans. I mean, Dominicans have a lot of different races. Really, it's not just a mulatto. Like some of them are mulatto, mestizo. Some of them are even white or black. Really,
they still have like a small percentage of native blood, even though you can't see it through their phenotype.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they have like slight admixture.
The average Dominican has 37.5%, so that's 3/5 sub-Saharan African ancestry.
Yeah, and
So,
just based on that, like, even if they have a minor percentage of is it Taino or whatever, like they would if you put it, because I'm very interested, like that's why I quite like Mulato Priest's post about the genetic clustering. I'm very interested in that. You would still cluster closer with them than to fully black Americans. You would still cluster closely based on the shared European and sub-Saharan African
Yeah.
admixture.
Well, how close is
And then
how close is
I
Spain
definitely
to
would anyway. And then I definitely would, because I'm literally Southern Italian though on my white side. So and Italians and Spanish people share
yeah.
DNA pretty much. There's like little genetic differences between Italians and Spanish people. So I definitely would cluster closer to them than Black Americans, really.
Yeah, because Black Americans are predominantly like Northwest European, like
they're usually just like
British.
Anglo.
Yeah,
just
British
Anglo
Isles.
usually.
Yeah. Mulatto Priest, I would like to emulate the idea you had. I mean that post. I would like to make my own for Eurasians. Did you use like Vaha Duo and stuff?
You just gotta use Chat GPT and just ask them to like generate you a genetic cluster map of how close, like whatever race you want to pick.
I would like to do it because I know how. Like I've done my own genetic clustering. Also, I don't know if you guys follow him. There is another mulatto guy on here. His at is like Identities or something, but he has posted his genetic cluster, like his DNA test compared to other populations, and he literally got populations from the like Middle East, Northern African, like the Northern African region, like basically like no actual sub-Saharan African populations, and he posted that, and some retard was like, "Oh, your dad must have left to get the your dad must be the postman or something," because they didn't understand genetic clustering. That's what a lot of people like. They think genetic clustering is like if because I got like not Kazakh, but like other Turkic groups, because like Uyghur or whatever, however the fuck you pronounce that, and like Uzbek, etc.
Uyghur, yeah, I think it's like Uyghur people or whatever.
Yeah. It's a weird pronunciation, but I got those right, and if I posted that, there would be literally retards going, "Oh, but you don't have any blood from that group." I don't know.
It'll trigger the algorithm. It'll flag the chat. Flag the.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just like I couldn't tell if you were joking or not. Okay. Is that why you guys say like YT and BLK?
Yeah, YT, BLK.
Yeah, because it'll flag the chat for the most part if we don't say YT or BLK. But sometimes I slip up, obviously, because I'm not really used to censoring myself on here, really.
Yeah, that's why I why I would probably make a transition to YouTube, because I think they're not as anal about some of those stuff, but yeah.
I mean, if you want to get like monetized or whatever, they would demonetize you depending on what topic you're speaking.
Honestly,
about. That's the only thing.
Sorry, just a piece on that. Like, honestly, and something that my boyfriend brought up to me, because I don't really use YouTube that much. Like, he has seen videos that are very explicitly far right, like very far right, very like white supremacist. They will literally get like like tons and tons and tons of likes, like views and likes. And meanwhile, I thought, because I don't know, like I haven't used YouTube in ages, I thought that those were like not pushed by the algorithm, basically.
Yeah, I think some of them are able to get through or whatever. They may not be monetized. I don't know, but yeah, it depends, because there are sometimes there are some people that just get pushed in the algorithm, and then other people, they can't get anything. So making like the same content, but that's why there's also like Rumble. Like I have a channel on Rumble, like more as like a backup, just in case, something happens.
Isn't that the place that America First is on?
Yeah, Rumble. Yep.
What's America
Yeah, a
First?
lot.
Like the
America First.
A lot.
Oh,
right?
Nick
It's
Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes' thing, and a lot of other right wing
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, there's a lot
Like
of other
I think
right-wing
with
channels.
I think with
We're talking
Senor.
about genetics.
Hold on a sec.
Have you
Hold on a
guys seen
sec.
all this?
Hold on a sec. I think with Senor Fuentes, he used to have like his own channel, and I think he recently moved to Rumble. But yeah, Rumble is basically just like conservative YouTube, but they don't have like any kind of like censorship in regard to like the kind of stuff you can talk about. So I can like talk about race being not a social construct and things like that, and I don't have to worry about anything. But on YouTube I probably would have to like censor myself a little bit.
IberianMulatto.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay. Bro, the white nationalist one dropping Nick is so funny because he's not even
Oh,
he's not
yeah.
even he's not even casties though. He's like a
He is a castizo because he is like 80% white, so that would qualify as
but the thing is, right?
Because he's 20% indigenous.
No, the thing is, his remaining 20% isn't fully indigenous. So if you look at his ancestry test, he has a bit of African and a bit of Middle Eastern, Northern African. So he's actually around like only 15%. That's why I said he's not a castizo technically.
You know what's funny though?
What?
Like, have you seen the post? I think it's on Instagram where I guess it's like this small hat guy. They keep on saying how far disconnected Nick Fuentes is from Sicilians or Italians genetically.
Yeah.
Like how he's not like
no,
how somebody
and it makes people really mad. It makes them really, really mad because like he'll literally be like, oh, but he's Fino though. Like he's Fino. I have a video up. It's my most recent video. They're trying to claim like the mixed model Adriana Lima, who is around 40%. I'm rounding up from like 37. Like around 40% non-European, and she got put in one of these like vril edits, like white supremacist edits. And in the comments, like one of my Mulato mutuals, she was like, "Oh well, that's not a white woman. They asked 40% non-European. If she was 10% more, you wouldn't call that white." And they were like, "Oh, what's the problem with that? Like, there's nothing wrong with that because she looks it, and because she's majority European." Like they really it's really pick and choose with these.
What's funny though?
Yeah,
I mean, Halle
what you say
Berry
about
is
Adriana
majority
Lima?
European.
Sorry,
she
one
doesn't look
person.
white at all.
No, exactly. That's true. That's true.
By YT nationalist standards, she wouldn't look white.
Adriana
exactly.
Lima. Yeah.
So that's the funny part. They're up here claiming a woman that they wouldn't even consider her a white woman, even if she was full Southern European.
Imagine people.
They're claiming her because she's beautiful. That's it.
Yes,
that's
exactly. It's literally like Bantus. They literally just claim, "Oh, she's pretty. She's one of us." Like,
Yeah.
Anyway, imagine people with no culture telling everyone where they're from. Everyone has a culture, so I don't know what that comment means.
Hotep. I'm gonna lock in with you again. Hotep, you do not have the culture that you think you have. You have no connection to the land. You have no ancestral connection to the land. You are as new to the US as Europeans are. Now, what you need to do is give yourself a 23andMe DNA test, and then wait for it. Then you need to upload those results into illustrative DNA to get an even closer look at what you are. And after that, you need to shut the fuck up forever because you have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh my god, bro!
I'm gonna inbox you.
When Wes locks in, like it's quiet, bro. It's quiet.
I'm gonna inbox him a 10-step program that he can use to get out of whatever identity crisis this is.
Someone wrote your language. I think someone writes every language, bro. What the?
Yeah, that's the point of language.
Somebody wrote your language.
Someone always writes it.
Okay, so we've got. Hold on, everybody.
Right
Hold
now.
on. We've got Jermaine on the panel. What's up?
Hi, Jermaine.
Hey, it's morning here. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. And it's so interesting hearing you guys speak about mixed people all over the world. And it's interesting, but I just had something to share about our last names in Cape Town. So we have a very large population of mixed people. We're about maybe 4 million in South Africa as a whole. It's about 8 million people that are mixed. And as you guys know, we classify as like sort of like a separate racial group. But here in Cape Town, a lot of us don't know like what type of mix we are. Like it could be Asian, could be mostly European, it could be mostly African. And what happens is that a lot of our last names have like the months that we were sold in because of slavery. So it would be January, February, July, all of the months of the year. And that is so interesting. And I have how can you say, a Dutch surname, because we were colonized by the Dutch in the 1600s. And basically it's Gertse. So I don't think you can pronounce it, so don't try. But it basically means the possession of this guy called Gert. And up to this day, I can't trace it. So as a result of basically the apartheid regime and slavery, so all of those records have been lost. And we just don't know. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to share.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, one of the things I've realized about coloreds is there are actually so many different mixes, and it kind of really just means like mixed race, because there's just so many different people. Like you've got Tyler, you've got people like who's the Daily Show guy? I forgot his name.
He wouldn't be classified as colored though. I think he's addressed that in a lot of his stand-up comedies, so he's more biracial. Whereas we as colored.
Is that Trevor Noah?
Trevor Noah, yes.
Even despite the many differences, there is still, like with anything that can be quantified, there is still an average. Of course, you can look it up on the colored page on the wiki page. I think there's results from a study done on like what the average admixture levels are, and that's what like a lot of people will say, you know, because you like the no, you have no identity people, or you are just like this unrecognizable like mass of like, you know, you have no race. Like there is still an average in terms of blood quantum and stuff.
Yeah, but you try to wonder then how the study was done.
Yeah, that's true.
Was it done in a certain region? Was it done because there's different types of mixed people in South Africa?
Yeah,
and,
but even if you did one, like even if hypothetically you did one all over South Africa, like there's gonna be an average. I'm not saying everyone's gonna fit that average. There'll be outliers, but it'll count the outliers. You know.
It would, yeah, and you can basically use that as your guide. So, but it's far more complex because if you think about it, especially where I am in Cape Town, which is like the factory of mixed people, so to speak. And what happens is that if somebody, I know I might sound very stereotypical right now, but if somebody who's very dark, but they are colored, mixed, and another person who's like maybe dark as well, dark skinned, they could have some baby that's like European presenting, and that is extremely rare all over the world, and it's only here that it's like that. And
there is sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just saw the other day there were these two Eurasian people, like a couple, and they had a baby, and the baby it had like very light skin, very light eyes, like chestnut brown hair. All the comments were like, you know, just the typical comments, because you see this a lot, like mixed people having kids and the kid comes out maybe really light because of the recessive traits, and people were like, oh my god, your dad is the postman, like your mom cheated, like that's not your kid, etc. They really have no clue.
Well, when you hear that, will be thrown out of the window. So just in my street, there's like different people. So I live in a mostly colored area. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but according to the group areas which separated us all into different areas by race, and in my block alone, there's people presenting every different skin tone you can find: blue eyes, green eyes, light eyes, brown eyes, and it's really bizarre. And I think that somebody from the West or somebody from like maybe America would find that extremely bizarre to come here and see how the dynamics work. But it's something that you definitely should experience at least once in your life. I tell everybody who's mixed.
Yeah, I'd love to just go to, like, not just there, but like any place that has a large mixed population, because I think we, and by we I mean pretty much everyone here, excluding Jermaine, like we come from areas that like I mean, like immediate areas, as in like your neighborhood or like your little town or whatever. Like, you know, we don't see as many people like us, and that's my personal like dream is to have a place, even if it's just an enclave in a country that has a population that is the same race as me. Like, that's a privilege that monos or the older races that they take for granted.
Yeah. I would
Yep.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yep. I think she touched on a very good point, and it's like for a lot of us, we're usually forced to live under other people's societies for the most part, really.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I wanted to mention is that we also have an example of what happens when a mixed race becomes so dominant that they're no longer perceived as mixed race and they're almost viewed as their own race. And it's basically like mestizos in like Latin America. Like
literally what I was gonna mention.
Yeah, so like so many people just see them as a single race and then forget, oh yeah, they're actually like mixed with like European and like native. And that's like a perfect example. And then you have, I would say, somewhere in between us and like that is like with Dominicans, because Dominicans, they are mixed and they kind of already are. I mean, they have their own race. They have different races within there, but there's still some people who are still kind of not wanting to recognize that they are like mixed and they are their own race, and obviously trying to just tell them that they're black or whatever and stuff like that. So you know, you can even have your own nation and then still have to fight for your own identity.
Honestly, like that, like basically like mixing till everyone like till basically another race has been created, which I mean it was from the very first instance of mixing. Like that, like monos really don't realize that is literally how everyone was made. Like one of the biggest arguments against us, specifically perpetrated by like our European side, is that mixing is what destroys identity, and it destroys, like it's destructive, but it's literally the opposite, because it creates, like, Europeans are like obviously like a mixture of like all of those Neolithic tribes that no longer exist, you know, and it's just kind of funny, like if we shift back to those times, like if they were able to, like, I mean, I don't know anything about the culture that those people lived in, but like, you know, if they had some sort of identity politics, like it would look similar to what we suffer from right now. Like Europeans would be in our place, if you know what I mean. Like they act like they don't have ancestors.
So I want to jump in on that real quick. Hold on a sec. This is why I don't like this idea that some people have that, like, we were mentioning earlier, like if we all just mix, then everything would be so much better. But the thing is, we are already living in a world where everybody has already all mixed. Like this is what happens, because all the Europeans, they're all mixtures of previous races. Even Africans, they're all mixtures of previous races. Same with everybody
like everyone
else.
is.
Yeah, everybody's a mix of something that no longer exists. And the reason there are still differences is because our ancestors have lived in different parts of the world, and the environment you live in plays a part on your genetics and your external physical appearance. So as long as there are humans living at the equator, there's gonna be dark-skinned people with like 4C type hair, and likewise, as long as there's people living up near like the Arctic Circle and where there's little sunlight, there's gonna be what we would call white people, like pale-skinned people with like light eyes and light hair.
Yeah, it's so funny because a lot of these people, like, because a lot of people are kind of not. I don't know. There are lots of people who are like into like illustrative DNA. You know, those. You know, they're aware that they have admixture from, like, for example, Western hunter-gatherers, Yamnaya people. Those are the ancestors of Europeans. They know that, right? Like they'll look at their illustrative DNA, and that shit will literally be a rainbow. Because it will be like so many different, like, they don't exist anymore. Races that don't even exist anymore. and then they'll go ahead and say that like we are mutts, and I'm like, dude, your race is, if your race, and I posted this on my story, if our race are mutts, then your race are mutts. The only difference between our creation and their creation was our creation is more recent or more new, and theirs is old. That is the only difference. I mean, other than the fact that obviously, like, the races that they're mixed with, like, they lived closer together, like they lived closer together, not on other sides of the world. But other than those two,
Exactly.
like, it's literally there's literally no difference. It's only time and education, like the fact that they don't know about the dead races that they're descended from.
Exactly. I mean, really, yeah, that's really the only difference, is that with like the monoracial people who think they're, pure or whatever, I mean, they don't realize that they are descendants of races that, of what like we could call races that no longer exist. Like, and what you said about the Europeans, like, right, like, if we could go back maybe like hundreds of like years back, right? If I'm not mistaken, British people did not want to mix with anybody. They didn't want to mix with French people. They didn't want to mix with Irish. Like, they were very particular about staying within the British bloodline, if I'm not mistaken, really.
They said all the other groups were subhuman.
Right, they said all the other groups were subhuman, and they did not want to mix with them. Like, for a very long time, the Anglo-Saxons really stayed within their own little, what we would call an ethnic enclave. But obviously, over time, that changed, especially when they came to North America, and they set it up for basically all of the European groups that they were familiar with to come over here, and that is essentially what became the white race. But before that, like, Europeans were literally killing each other, though. They didn't think of themselves as this white conglomerate per se, really. Like, that's not even like, that's a little bit more modern, really, if you think about it. Like, the whole concept of what we call race came from really it really came from when they came to North America, really.
Okay, so what I have on the screen is basically the ancestral components of two Greek people. And notice how it's not just one thing called Greek. It's like 4 or 5 different things. And this is a snippet from a study I have, and the study has pretty much all Europeans on there, and almost every European is like this for the most part. The only people that probably have like fewer ancestral components are probably like Estonians, and I'm seeing like Finns. They have like one large component and then a few like really small ones, but for the most part, most Europeans are like this. They have ancestry from previous races that no longer exist anymore, and they're not just some pure race that has existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Nobody is.
The thing is, right, like, and this is why I really strongly dislike when other people say, like, when other mixed people say that we don't fit in a box, or like things like that, because we do fit in a box because mixing creates new identities. I am 100% a member of the Eurasian race, similar to how someone with 50% or like pretty much just only sub-Saharan African ancestry and European ancestry is 100% a member of the mulatto race. Like, we are new races. It all comes back to the fact that we are new races. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of other mixed people, they're like, I don't fit in a box. Like, just stuff like that. Like, you can't, we fit in 2 boxes, and I'm like, no, we fit in a singular box, the new race that we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm going to be making a video that touches this subject, and it's going to be challenging the usage of the terms like monoracial and mixed race, because I think we need to replace those terms. And I have something that I think would be better, but it's basically pretty much like you said. We're new races and they are older races. Yeah. So
yeah, that's what I've been thinking for ages, but like I'm so glad that I'm in this freaking live.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, we
nobody
are more
thinks.
modern races, and they are the older races, basically. Who, if you think about it, they're kind of, and I think some of them are worried because, especially with like what you call like white people. I think they're really timid because they see their numbers are going down, but it's like, okay, well, that's actually from other factors that have nothing to even like do with us, because statistically, most white people don't really race mix. Most tend to stay within their own kind. So if that's the case, then that has nothing to even like do with us.
I made a tweet. I'm gonna read the tweet, and I'm like, I just want to know if you guys agree, which I know you probably will, but like, okay, so this is what I said there is no political faction or like either side of the political spectrum that has a correct opinion on intermixing or race mixing, because basically the consensus on the left is race isn't real, which is untrue, and I know El Mulato agrees with that.
Yep.
But right wingers, like, they hate us, like they hate the new races and think we have no identity because they don't know how identities are formed. Identities are formed through mixing. So like, this is why like we can't trust really like either side of the political spectrum right now, because basically, yeah, like one side is saying race is real. There are literally no races. It's all social. It's all based on how you look. And then the other side is just saying like you literally have no community, you have no people, you have no identity. You are literally like a nationless like bastard mongrel, etc.
I got a question. Are they actually saying that about Eurasians too?
Well, yes. In fact, hackers are very targeted by the right. I've been on Twitter for ages, and just the amount of stuff I've seen, like any Eurasian hate you see on TikTok, which you see a lot of, probably like it's been around for ages. And yes, they say the exact same things. Like you have no. Sorry.
They're the ones making Eurasians. The white men. Why aren't the white men getting mad at other white men for getting with Asian women?
Oh, they do. They say like only the chopped of them, like only the inferior of them race mix.
I would like to see I would like to see the people who are saying that. I want to see them behind the camera.
Yeah, I want to see their faces too. Yeah. But anyway, the point is like there is a new I don't know which side of the political spectrum you guys would agree it's on, but I guess it's based on what we are on average. But there is a new, like, this is basically a new political like ideology pretty much, because it doesn't really fit into any of the existing ones. Like I would like a political ideology that currently exists to be named, that acknowledges that we are our own new race, and like race is real, and like mixed identities are real. Like there is none, pretty much.
Yeah, I think it's just more so not really a political ideology, but more so a sense of identitarianism. Is what you're kind of like.
That is political in my opinion.
How do you say your name? Is it E-I or L? Or?
It's just EI, because my username is Eurasian Identity. It's initials.
Or just racial nationalism per se, or racial realism. I don't know. That's kind of what you would classify that under. I wouldn't say that's always necessarily like a political thing. More so, really. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe you define it as that, but I wouldn't really always lump it in that box, though it can overlap, obviously, but it's not always sort of what you'd call a political thing, I would say. It's,
I just think that, because, I mean, one of my end goals is, and this benefits you guys, for all of us new races to be acknowledged on a government level, the same way like in the census they acknowledge Europeans, they acknowledge Africans, like they acknowledge they call them Caucasian or black or whatever other slang, but they acknowledge them. I want to be acknowledged on a political level, basically. That's kind of what I mean, like on a national level,
like a representation. Yeah, I get what you're saying, like a political, like sort of representation for the most part.
Yeah, I got a question for you. Do they try to one drop Asians into Asians, or they just say like you guys are your own thing, but you're like you're just not connected to anything? How do they word it with you guys? They just one drop
I mean, it's pretty much this. It's pretty much the same as any other group. Like, I would love if they said that we're our own thing, but yeah, like you will get a lot of Asians. Yeah, like one of the main things is like, you know, you're Asian, like Asians are Asian too, like similar to how like half black is half BLK is still BLK, you know. It's just typical one drop. They don't like, there's nothing much that's different.
Gotcha.
That answers
hold on a sec. So, Eurasian Identity, definitely got to pass me your X, because I also have an X account, but I didn't know you were on X. But I
am, yeah.
I kind of get what you mean. I don't think that we really have many allies with any particular like political faction, like left, right, or anything like that, because there's too many people. The people that are against us, they have a diverse set of politics, and so we kind of we can't really look for allies from like a political sense. It's really just wherever they are, you know. And sometimes we're just gonna end up finding some people on the left, some people on the right, some people who are this or that. And me personally, I'm opposed to any kind of like political involvement, especially without us having a community, because I think that has to happen first before you can even start getting involved in politics.
Right.
I mean, the thing is, right, like in my idea of what would occur, I mean, that's like a prerequisite. I agree. Like, what I'm trying to say is that we need more people like of our own respective races that are like a community that can speak up and represent us, and like, you know, just discuss like how we're doing right now, but like be accepted by other people. And I don't know, I just think I mean, race and identity politics is like, those are very political topics, so I just think it's natural to call it that, especially when it's like talking about like having our own nations and spaces, because a lot of these people, like a lot of the people we interact with, like the FBAs on you guys' part, or like very leftist Asians, like they're like identified by the politics they have.
Yeah, if I may just add in a little bit, sorry. So the problem was that I think what you want is sort of like a representation politically, you know, financially, socioeconomically, with regards to the distinct race. And I think I can speak a little bit on that, because in South Africa it happened, but mostly in the 1940s. So that's when the Segregation Act was introduced in South Africa by our then government. And before that, we hadn't really been recognized as a unique race. We were grouped differently. And as a form of denialism, and I think that's kind of like the area that we're in right now, in the West, in the East, with regards to mixed people. And what's happening is that currently in South Africa, we do have parties that specifically sort of like fighting for the rights and, you know, all of those things for specifically quote unquote colored people in South Africa. And it's very hard because we are a minority, and it is kind of like very difficult for us to get any sort of seats or, you know, any political representation, because we are so few. But there are things that kind of like socioeconomically also has will be affected. And we've seen it where we kind of like have, what do they call it? We call it EE, or economic equality in South Africa. And that is a very, very hot topic at the moment. And I just wanted to say, yes, you will fight for that, but there's also that other aspect of it, and which is kind of difficult. And yeah, I just wanted to make light of that.
Which aspect in particular, or like which aspect would be like general? Like, is that a South Africa specific issue given you guys' history, or would that be applicable to a new state?
It could possibly be affecting us in that way, pretty globally, but I don't think it would. It's more of a very South African unique thing where we've been a minority for a long time. And, yeah. So my friend over here is also mixed, and Silo Tech is in the comments right now, and he's a big troll, so don't mind him.
Okay.
But he will tell you otherwise. So we still technically
hi Silo Tech.
Yeah, he's actually colored as well, but he's white presenting. So yeah, and I think he has a lot of different views. There are people in South Africa that actually don't believe in being called colored. They want to be called just black. And then he's got other aspects, and he's got a totally different viewpoint on all of race and how it's classified within South Africa. But to answer your question, yes, it would be more specifically to South Africa and our dynamic.
Yeah, I'm really just talking about like generally, like I just like, because right now I'm gonna be honest, like all of politics right now is honestly kind of like a war between Europeans and non-Europeans, right? Like they have people, like they have political parties like fighting for European interests, like in Europe specifically, like the far right parties, and then they have people on the opposite of that, like the very left-wing parties fighting for the interests of non-Europeans, all over the world. And I'm just like, dude, I want someone to speak up for mixed people, and I want someone to speak up for mixed people in a way that doesn't one-drop rule them. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's just a necessary and inevitable thing that will happen if we were to be considered our own race, which is the goal.
So Eurasian Identity, I have a question. So we have like on our side a big issue of people just kind of one dropping themselves, not identifying as Latto. Do y'all have that issue as well? Are there a lot of Eurasians?
Yes, of course. Yes, it's really, really annoying because we have our own group chats and stuff, and most of them will literally be like just talking about these absolute fools. Like there is this one girl in particular on Instagram. Her she is Eurasian, and her European father walked out on her when she was young, and she seems to be exclusively identifying as Asian, which is very very difficult because everyone can clock. Like she has a pheno that is explicitly Eurasian. Like we can clock her. Like it's very obvious she's living like in a God, what's it called? Like she's living in like a paradox kind of, because she like thinks that she's an Asian person, and she says that they have this little thing. I don't know if they have it with you guys, but they're like, mixed people are 100% of both races. Like she's like, oh dude, mixed people, like half Asian people are 100% Asian and 100% YT, and which is just ridiculous. These people live in a delusion. So yeah, we have that like analogous issue as well.
Gotcha. Okay. So I think I'm going to end the live here. We've been going 3.5 hours. I've been loving it. I hope everybody else has been loving it. Does anybody have any?
Definitely have.
Does anybody have any like final thoughts, last words they want to give before we end it?
I can.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll just say, I'm really, really glad that we have this sort of, even though like we don't have physical communities, that we at least have, online communities to kind of express what we want to say about these things, really. And I'm really happy that like more people are really starting to acknowledge and identify as what they are really.
I agree.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Final thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to. El Mulato. So I just wanted to go back to the purists, like that. There's pure racists existing, like to this day, and there was a study done. I think it was by the University of Cape Town and another university within South Africa, further inland. And they had found that, I don't know if it was a small study or a very large study, but they'd found that 95% of all European people in the Southern African region had about 5% of Khoisan blood in them. And
That makes sense.
In that aspect, it makes sense, yeah, because for centuries they've been here and there's probably been some admixture. But can we then call them mulattoes? So that is my question.
Yeah, with 5%,
Or
I
call
don't
them
think
black. Or call them black because of one drop. So I mean, can they call themselves black now?
so. Some Americans
so-
will say that, yes.
There's
So
a
that is
funny.
like-
Sorry.
Here's my
A funny.
question.
No.
Hold on. Okay, go ahead, Eurasian Identity.
There's a funny post on here. It was by a mulatto woman, and it was like, yeah, it showed this like, God, I don't like Octoroon actress, and and she put the caption, "I vote this woman to play as Harriet Tubman in a biopic because she's black, like." She's like 15% black is black, and yeah, made the Bantus mad. Sorry, that just reminded me of that. I'm gonna make a version for my race, but yeah, I hope it gets a lot of engagement, hate comments. Anyway, who's
The
next?
politically correct term is Negro.
Bro, you gotta pronounce it with the Spanish negro.
No, I get to pronounce it the Anglo-Saxon way, the Negro.
Okay, cool. So thank y'all, everybody. Freaking Jermaine, you pronounced my name correctly on the first try. That was amazing, and you're not even like Spanish, so that's awesome. Eurasian Identity, you're always welcome. Anybody else, whatever your mix is, you're welcome to my lives. And as I stated earlier, these lives are really important for us to try to connect, foster some kind of community, and then help our people keep going, keep growing. I see. I think it's okay to be mixed. Andre, what's up? I don't know if you just joined, but I'm ending it. But I'll catch y'all next week. Every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. I try to upload the lives to my YouTube at Papa Mulaton. And you can obviously find me on TikTok. So I'll catch y'all next time. See y'all.
Bye.
Bye.